Hello, what's going on, Miners fans? Welcome to another beautiful day in Palmer, Alaska. Herman Brothers Field, home of the Matsu Miners, and home, we hope, of the second straight win after getting the second half of a doubleheader last night against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. One of the most impressive wins of the season for Matsu, and they hope to keep that momentum going today. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons, as always, bringing the action. And Dylan, last night showed that Matsu doesn't always need an offensive explosion to win.
Yeah, I think what last night showed was the consistency of the defense, right, and especially the incredible pitching. Hayden Hattenbach among those. He had a sensational second outing for Matsu in game number 2. So I think moving forward, pitching is going to be huge for Matsu down the stretch if they want to be a championship contender like we all know they're capable of. But the offense obviously looking to get better, and hopefully they will be able to do that tonight.
The second half of that doubleheader was encouraging. The first half maybe not so much, but in case you missed either of them, we've got highlights from both coming right up.
Welcome back to the crossroads of the world. This afternoon we've got double the action and double the fun as the Anchorage Glacier Pilots play host to your Matsu Miners in the first doubleheader of the year for Matsu. What's going on, everybody? Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you, and for the Miners today, it is all about redemption after they suffered an earthquake of epic proportions last night against the Anchorage Bucks. As Dylan Marks is at the plate now, the second baseman out of Sitka has been sensational, and he lines one out to right center, and did I say sensational? He's got a single, and coming home for the Pilots is Knight. That ball gets away from the catcher for Matsu, and now on to second is Dylan Marks, as it is Chase Knight who scores, and Logan Vaughn unable to do anything with that throw. He was a participant in the USA Baseball 18U training camp and won a pair of WWBA championships, so in his prep days he was certainly one of the best.
On the ground to second base, Marks on to second for one, on to first in time to turn 2.
My goodness, a perfect double play by the Glacier Pilots that time. And I love the way that they just efficiently were able to flip the ball back. Luke Hefner, Dylan Marks did a great job of understanding the situation, getting the double play quickly. And you saw the amount of time that Marks had to throw it back to first to Jake Dodge. That was sensational stuff and a great double play by the Pilots.
Just like that, the leadoff walk is erased.
First baseman in Oregon back in his prep
That's
days.
a bunt laid down by Drake Kerr. He's going to try and leg it out, and he will. Drake Kerr does what Drake Kerr does. A 2-out bunt to manufacture a hit out of nowhere. How many times have we seen him do that this season? Dodge finding the zone when he has to, but Baltz at first base, an RBI single, and the Miners have tied it up.
Beautiful RBI single by Blake Baltz. I said he understood the situation, he understood the assignment, and delivered a rocket out to right field, a bouncing ball that got right in that 4-3 hole. Beautiful shot in between Marks and Shanahan, doing what he does best. They're trying to keep their spot at third in the standings.
That's into left field, and it'll be down for a base hit. So the Pilots will retake the lead here in the bottom of the 5th. 3 straight singles allowed by Ryan Peterson. And Jake Dodge, the great base running by the first baseman, pays dividends. Pilots 2, Miners 1 here in the 5th.
Now a 1-1 count. Beam at the mound. Pitch on the way. Baltz sends one up to shallow left field. This is going to drop down. It's a fair ball. It just barely stayed within the left field line, and coming around is Kerr. Here's the throw, and Kerr makes it in time. We are tied in Anchorage.
Specialized. You got a lot of guys coming out of high school who can pitch and hit.
Johnson rips a fastball, and he struck him out. Ashton Johnson with a key punch out on Tommy Beam. And there will be no runner on first base via a walk or a single now. That's out number 2, and that will bring on the last man in the order. It is Brendan Shanahan. Understanding a given situation, knew to go after that baseball. 2-1 by Johnson. This ball popped up. It's into space. This one should be easy. And coming in and making the catch is Richard. We're on to extra innings. The top of the 8th is on the way. The score is still 2-2. Johnson, he's going to try a curveball. This is foul. So Johnson went with the curve that time. We've seen him mix in the fastball in this inning and throughout the game. We'll see what he goes for. Needs this strikeout to end things now and bring it to the top of the 9th. And he got the strikeout. There's the fastball. Ashton Johnson simply electrifying. And we are on to sudden death at Mulcahy Stadium. We'll see if it will be the truest of redemption for Matsu. Charlie Fellows will take you through the final half inning. We'll be right back. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
Pilots out hitting the Miners 8-7. And that's hit high, but not too deep. Into shallow left field. Coming on it is the shortstop into foul territory, and he makes the grab. And the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, second time this season, the Miners have been on the wrong end of a tied game loss by virtue, or I guess lack of virtue, of that extra innings rule. They dropped the first half, but never fear, there is still plenty of chances for them to get back in the win column as they play half number 2 of this doubleheader. Well, welcome back inside Mulcahy Stadium in Anchorage, Alaska, home of the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. That's also terrible, though. Cut and a miss. He got him. Strikeout number 2. Hayden Hattenbach wasting no time. Hat or no, racking up the Ks here. He's got 2 in his first inning.
Great control and chance for a K right here.
And he'll get it. His second looking strikeout, 4th overall. And nothing the Glacier Pilots have tried has worked so far. 50 shot, he guessed right.
So here we go. Payoff pitch. Bisaccia lines one up the middle. That's going to be a base hit as the second baseman could not corral it. Troy Sanders did everything he could to get after it, but Nick Bisaccia able to get it through, and that's going to be a single. Playing loose, but in a good way. 1-2 count, and he delivers another strikeout. Hayden Hattenbach has been sensational to start off this game. 6 strikeouts in just 3 innings against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, and they still have a donut on the scoreboard. Baseball circles, and congratulations to Coach Bassetti.
And he's a former Miner, too, joining the coaching staff here.
As that one goes right past the pitcher, Zawastowski. That's going to be a single into left center field for Blake Baltz. So Matsu able to get a single here in the top half of the 4th inning. And it's the man out of UCLA who delivers easily. Here we go. Christian Perez will send a high fly ball out to right center field. This one is going to be caught. Runner's going to tag and come home. And he will score for Matsu. A strike from our vantage point. And this time there's no doubt about it. Strikeout looking issued by Hayden Hattenbach. And 7 is the magic number for him. He ties the season high for a Matsu Miners pitcher. Alongside Tucker Timmerman, he has been unbelievable through 5 innings. A single in his first step out of the game and got a stolen base as well.
1-1, bases juiced, 1 out. Zawastowski. Off the end of the bat into right field. Stolga coming on, and he makes the grab. McCausland's going to tag her. This is Scow, actually. He's going to tag, and he's going to be out. What a Stolga. Out.
Beautiful job painting the corner that time. That breaking ball continues to be effective.
Patrizi fielding it and bobbling it. But he throws on, and he gets him anyway. I looked away, and I thought the game was going to keep going, but Barajas couldn't leg it out, so Patrizi atones, throws on to Christian Perez, who fields a trio of groundouts to get the Matsu Miners the win, 1-0. What a game it was. Well, Dylan, that was just a dominant display. We've seen great pitching from Matsu before, but never in a situation like that where they needed every last out that they could in order to eke out that 1-0 win, and Hayden Hattenbach delivered.
Yeah, Hayden Hattenbach was Mr. Clutch last night. Truly a hats-off performance for him. He locked down the Glacier Pilots on his way to that victory. 5 innings pitched, no hits, no runs given up, 7 strikeouts, which is tied for the most by any Miners pitcher this season. He hadn't started a game this year until that point and did a sensational job. Didn't look any worse for the wear. It was the first shutout win for the Miners this season. So impressive, Charlie.
And we say hats off in the literal sense, too, at least early on. Hattenbach was having trouble keeping his hat on his head. In between the first and second innings, he made a little adjustment, and to the applause of his teammates from the dugout, never fell off once during the entire game, but I don't think the hat really mattered that much. Hattenbach was lights out. But don't take it from me, take it from the man himself. I got a chance to talk with Hayden before this game about how it felt on the mound and how it's been moving from Santa Barbara up to Palmer, Alaska. Have a listen. All right, what's going on, Miners Nation? I'm here with last night's winning pitcher, Hayden Hattenbach, and just an incredible start last night. 5 innings, no hits, 7 strikeouts. What was going right for you?
I was just thinking about being competitive every day, and it worked out. So that's really all I was doing.
Do you know if you're going to be in the rotation going forward?
I mean, I would assume so. I haven't talked to Heck about it, but I would think so, yeah.
So you, along with Blake, joined the team pretty recently. You joined the team right before we all went down to Kenai. You were just kind of thrown into the ringer there. What was that like to make that adjustment?
Well, baseball is a game of adjustments, so all there is to it is just go out there and compete every day. I like to keep it pretty simple, so if I can just do that, I don't worry about much else besides that.
How's it been getting to know all the minors?
It's been awesome. We got a great group of guys here, and I'm excited for the rest of the year.
And now that we're back at Herman Brothers, how's Palmer? How's that different from where you came from?
It's beautiful up here. That's the first thing. Everybody's super nice, and I'm excited to spend the rest of the summer here.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Hayden Hattenbach. We're looking forward to seeing him pitch more over the rest of the season. It's been great to talk to you. Back to you. Well, Dylan, it's always nice to talk to a pitcher after a performance like that. It really gives you an inside look into how it feels to be on the mound and just carrying your team to victory.
Yeah, he's got a great attitude, and he displays that every time he steps up onto the mound and also off the field as well. His interviews, the way he composes himself, it's very awesome to see Hayden and what he was able to do last night, and I'm sure he'll do more of that in the future.
Well, the Miners hadn't seen the Glacier Pilots until last night since their home opener. Now, tonight they play against a team they haven't seen since their opener period. The Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks come to town for the first time. And what's their lineup look like?
Well, Oliver DeGenhart will be leading off. He'll be the shortstop. Then it's Louis Zalacia, the second baseman. Jaden Hill in center field. Brady Groves in left field. Jordan Jaffe at first base. Cade Smith, the DH. David Broughton, the third baseman. RJ Rickabaugh, the catcher. And Orion Medeiros, the right fielder. Frankie Gulko, the staff ace, is on the mound for the Chinooks tonight.
He's been absolutely on a tear lately. The Miners saw him and tagged him for 9 runs on the season opener, but since then, he and the Chinooks team as a whole have been a lot better. On the Miners side, we got Drake Kerr leading off, as he so often does, out in center field. Blake Baltz, the DH. Kyle McCausland out in left. He's up to third in the lineup with how hot he's been hitting. Christian Perez, the cleanup spot at first base. Don Patrizzi at short. Kellen Strohmeyer out in right. Logan Vaughn doing the catching today. Chase Wilcox back at third with Nick Bisaccia at second, and Ben Detay making his first start since the Kenai series. He'll be on the bump for Matsu. Well, we've got a lot of action coming up. Matsu trying to get their first consecutive win in a couple weeks and do it against a team they beat handily in the season opener. Momentum is everything, especially in the early goings of the ABL season. They want a chance to leapfrog Chugiak in the standings, and they can do it with a win today. We'll have the action coming up right after this. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Don't go anywhere.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the city where Alaska is at its best. Palmer, Alaska, in the heart of the Matsu Valley. Tonight, it's another wild Wednesday as the Matsu Miners
in that first part of the season, but yesterday we saw a different version of the Matsu Miners that we hadn't quite seen so far this season. A team that's able to win a game not just by blowing its opponent out on the scoreboard and out-offensing them, but by just gritting out a win using their pitching.
Absolutely. The pitching was the biggest part of Matsu's victory yesterday, especially Hayden Hattenbach, and now the Miners looking to translate that today. Ben Detay will start on the mound for Matsu as they look to take down Chugiak at home. Leading off for the Chinooks will be Oliver Degenhart, the shortstop.
And it will be Ben Detay on the mound for Matsu.
Here we go. Miners Chinooks, game 2. And the pitch by Detay is high. The count goes to 1-0. Matsu is 6-7 in ABL play coming into this game. The Chinooks are 4-7. Matsu, of course, had the season-opening 9-1 victory over Chugiak. That goes for a strike, and the count goes to 1-1. But these two teams have not played in 20 days.
Detay originally out of Clive, Iowa, and Iowa Hawkeye.
Wasting no time as this one is fouled off, and the count will go to 1-2.
4.94 ERA, 27 strikeouts, and 23 2/3 innings with the Hawkeyes. As a redshirt senior, the oldest member of this Miners squad.
Degenhart with a 282 average on the year. This is going to be fouled off of Degenhart, and you see him kind of wincing and hopping on one leg as that ball came off of somewhere on his body.
It's never a fun experience to foul a ball off of anywhere on your lower leg or foot. I can only imagine how much that could hurt.
He is tied for the team lead in RBIs with 7, alongside R.J. Rickabaugh, who will be the catcher tonight for the Chinooks, as he was in the first game against Matsu. These two teams have had similar paths this season, but very different in many respects as well. A 1-2 count. This one is an opposite field shot right to the first baseman, Christian Perez, and that's one away. Very easy line out for Matsu.
Just the way you want to see the game start if you're the Miners. The infield defense has been such a point of emphasis for this team, head coach Ty LeBrun. And so far, lately through the games, win or lose, it has been extremely improved compared to what we've seen early on in the season.
Louis Zalaika now at the plate. As Detay fires in a fastball, it's a strike. Count goes to 0-1. Ben Detay, the man out of Iowa, making his second start of the season for Matsu. He's been very solid in his several appearances this year. This is a high fly ball out to left, and this one is going to sit down for a base hit. On his way is Zalaika. He wants second, and he is going to get there with a stand-up double.
Just an absolute rocket off the bat of Louis Zalaika, all the way into the corner, essentially. It was a long run for Kyle McCausland, and a speedier base runner might have even been able to get 3 out of that, but Zalaika content with his extra base hit. It's a 1-out double for the Chinooks.
As Jaden Hill will now come on for the Chinooks, the center fielder. That is some great success early on against Detay, and a start that the Chinooks were hoping for, trying to take the Matsu pitching to staff, which was such a strength yesterday.
Ben Detay this season with a 3.38 ERA has allowed 3 runs in 8 innings.
As he'll put this one in for a strike. Count goes to 0-1 towards the outer part of the zone.
He has started, this is his second start for the team. Last one coming down in Kenai.
0-1 count, keeping an eye at second base, and that's strike 2. Nice breaking ball by Ben Detay that time on Jaden Hill. Hill with 9 walks for us this season, which is the most on this team by a long shot.
Detay comes into the game with 4 strikeouts across his 8 innings.
And he's going to swing and miss at that one, and that's a strikeout for Ben Detay. Strikeout swinging on Jaden Hill, and Ben Detay and the Miners now with 2 away in the top of the first.
And make it 5, an excellent 3-pitch strikeout. Hill could not hang with the velocity of Ben Detay, and he goes down.
Yeah, it was a little bit higher that time. Hill went for it, and he just could not get that one to go anywhere, but right into the glove of the catcher. This pitch is outside by Detay, and the count goes to 1-0 on Brady Groves, the left fielder. Groves, the freshman for the Oilers, 17 at-bats coming into this game, a .235 average, .381 on base percentage.
That's just the second ball that Detay has thrown all game. That'll be ball number 3. He's attacking the strike zone early.
Yeah, and you see his pitches are a little bit higher up in the zone. for the most part, outside of when he decides to go for that breaking ball. Then it lowers just a little bit. 2-0 count. And this one is lower, but outside the zone. It's going to be ball number 3. And Ben Detay is in danger of walking Brady Groves to first base.
Just as I say it, he misses the strike zone on a few pitches in a row, but we've seen the command of Detay. It's been great in his last couple starts, so.
3-0 count. This pitch is high, and that is going to be a 4-pitch walk. So Brady Groves on to first base. Detay issuing 4 straight balls, and now Jordan Jaffe will come on now for the Chinooks. And Jaffe, another sensational batter, a great offensive weapon. He's taken more at-bats than any player on this team this year and has 9 total hits. He's going to swing and miss at this one, and the count goes to 0-1.
Coming into this game, Detay had just 2 walks issued in his 8 innings with the minors. So it's been a strong suit of his, but Jaffe gets the better of him here.
This ball is fouled off up towards the cage, and the count is going to be 0-2.
Brady Groves, I should say. He was the one who drew the walk.
As Jordan Jaffe is trying to make something out of this at-bat. Runners on first and second here for the Chinooks. Louis Zalaika, in scoring position. Chugiak trying to take the early lead, and that pitch is low for ball 1.
The Chinooks come into the day at 4-7, a game back of the 6-7 Miners. Matsu in 3rd place in the ABL. The Chinooks in 4th, a half game ahead of the Glacier Pilots, thanks to the win the Miners got over them yesterday.
1-2 count, high fly ball out to center field. Kerr is there. He'll camp under it and make the catch. So far, so good for the Matsu defense and Ben Detay. He gets a strikeout in the first, and Matsu holds the Chinooks scoreless despite a little bit of a scare from Louis Zalaika. We're on to the bottom half of the first. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball, and it's on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call, and it's the bottom half of the first between Matsu and Chugiak. The Matsu defense stepped up, and now we'll see if the Matsu offense can do the same as they take on Frankie Gulko here in the bottom half of the first inning.
Gulko is somebody they faced off against in the season opener. He's the ace of the staff for the Chinooks. Didn't really look like it the first time these Miners saw him as they tagged him for 6 runs, but since then he has been amazing. Out of Santan Valley, Arizona, Salem University. Fires in a strike there. He had a 5.18 ERA, 60 strikeouts, and 67 1/3 innings pitched. And so far this season for the Chinooks, he's appeared 3 times with a 3.60 ERA. Since that appearance against the Miners, he is not allowed to run.
Count going to 1-1 here for Drake Kerr, the center fielder who has been on a sensational run as of late. Lets this one go by, and that's going to be ball number 2, a little bit outside of the zone. Kerr, the best bunter on this team, and the best in a great many categories for that matter, and he's from Vicey, Oklahoma. Want to make sure to clarify that. Count goes to 2-1. We've been calling it Vichy for a long time, as that's going to be foul, and the count goes to 2-2.
Tiny little town in western Oklahoma of 611 people. Vicey, Latin for I conquer, and that's what Drake Kerr has done so far this season.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe him. I conquer. That's what he does every time he steps out onto the diamond. Check swing here. And it's going to be called for a ball, and the count will run full at 3-2. There was an appeal to the first base umpire. Another thing that Drake Kerr is so good at for Matsu, he is the best stolen base guy, not just on this team, but in the ABL. He's got 7 total on the season.
And number 2 in the ABL, Riker Scow, has 6.
Here's a chopper left side, right to the shortstop, Dagenhart, throws to first, and that's going to be a 6-3 putout, 1 away.
Whenever you see plays like that, and you're like, yeah, that's a ground out, but you always look at how close it is. That ball was hit pretty hard, and yet Drake Kerr made that a much closer to a bang-bang play than it had any right to be. That speed is such a weapon, and if the team ever gets lazy, then he can make you pay.
Well, you know what they say about speed? Speed kills. Blake Boutz at the plate now for Matsu. Decent shot from Drake Kerr on that first at-bat, but we'll see if Boutz can do one better. He's going to swing and miss at this first offering. It's a nice breaking ball from Golko, and the count goes to 0-1.
Boutz on the year come in with a .214 average, 4 runs batted in, a .333 on-base percentage across 28 at-bats.
This pitch is well outside from Golko. Count goes to 1-1. Chugiak has prided themselves on team pitching and their ability to just generate pitchers and their incredible resourcefulness this year. Golko with a 3.60 ERA. That's 3rd in the ABL as he fires in a strike for a 1-2. He, Livesey, and Brantingham, 3 of the pitchers on this squad, are 3 of the top 5 pitchers in earned run average in the ABL.
Yeah, they have a team ERA of 4.18, which is definitely nothing to scoff at.
That pitch low for ball number 2. They can run a little bit hot and cold, not quite as consistent as some pitching staffs that we've seen in the ABL, like Matsu and the Anchorage Bucks, for instance. Count is 2-2. Pitch on the way. Boutz will foul it off, and the count will stay even for the man out of UCLA who delivered a clutch RBI single yesterday to send in Drake Kerr and tie the game late in game number 1 against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots.
And that game ultimately ended up being a sudden death loss, but Boutz did everything he could to prevent that.
And he's going to foul it off once again left side. Great crowd on hand tonight from what I can see here at Herman Brothers Field.
Absolutely amazing crowd. From what I can see, every seat in the house pretty much is packed. It's a beautiful day. Just cloudy and windy enough to not make it oppressively hot, and everybody in Palmer, it seems, has come out.
It's a nice Wednesday evening. This pitch is well inside. Boutz almost suffered a hit-by pitch that time. It's going to go to a full count once again at 3-2. We saw Golko negotiate this last time, but we'll see if he can repeat that feat right here. Here's the payoff. Boutz will swing and miss, and that's going to be a strikeout for Frankie Golko. He's taken care of 2 quickly on Matsu, and 2 away now in the bottom of the first.
Boutz a guy who doesn't strike out a ton. Only 4 Ks across 28 at-bats this season coming into this game, but Golko knows how to rack those up, and he does so here.
Kyle McCausland comes on now for Matsu, the left fielder, with 41 at-bats on the season, a 195 average. But he has been getting better and better with each passing game. He had what should have been, honestly, a home run yesterday against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, one of the longest doubles you'll ever see. Counts 1-0 here, and here's a line shot right to the third baseman, David Broughton. And he is able to get the out for the Chinooks. So that will do it, and we're on to the top half of the second. Both teams so far scoreless. We'll be right back to Herman Brothers Field. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball, and it's on YouTube. to Herman Brothers Field. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you. And it is time for more ABL action between the Miners and the Chinooks. Top half of the second score so far, 0-0 between the Miners and the Chinooks.
No score so far. Both pitchers dealing well. Detay has allowed one hit, but that double did not amount to any runs for Chugiak-Eagle River. He'll try to have a cleaner frame here with Smith at the bat.
Cade Smith at the plate, and that's going to be ball 2 for Ben Detay. He has managed one strikeout in this game so far, which he got against Jaden Hill, the third man in the order. Thus far, his defense has also been playing very solid. That's a breaking ball, zipped in for a strike. Count goes to 2-1. Matsu suffering a 1-2-3 inning in the bottom half of the first inning. Frankie Golko managing a strikeout as well. We saw how crucial pitching was yesterday, really on both sides. And the Miners have been in some low-scoring affairs as of late. That's the style of baseball that they've been comfortable playing, and they've done a good job of it. 3-1, and that's ball 4. So a 5-pitch walk to Cade Smith. He's on to first base, and a leadoff walk issued by Detay. His second walk of the game. That'll send on David Broughton, the third baseman. Man who ended the bottom half of the first inning with a line out from Kyle McCausland. And now we'll see if Broughton can bring it.
Broughton on the year batting 154, 2 runs batted in. The freshman out of Quincy University.
Pitch from Detay is high for ball number 1. Playing third base today, Broughton with 26 at-bats coming into this game. 4 total hits and a 154 average. 214 is his on-base percentage. Pitch inside by Detay, and now we're going to have a conversation between Logan Vaughn, the backstop, and the man on the mound.
Detay has been so good at avoiding walks coming into this game, but he's having trouble finding the strike zone here. So Logan Vaughn is going to make sure they're on the same page. Maybe he's missing his spots, or maybe he's just not quite on it the way he's been in the past. But still nothing that this team can't handle, with the infield defense having been as good as it has in the past. It's definitely double play territory if he can coax a ground ball.
Yeah, you want to make sure your pitcher's in the right frame of mind and understanding where the zone is. Count goes to 2-1. He didn't miss on that breaking ball. Ben Detay a little bit more comfortable on that pitch, and now trying to do it again. Let's see if he goes for the breaking ball or the fastball. This time it's a fastball, and it's fouled off by Broughton, and the count goes to 2-2, and there's the first broken glass sound effect of the evening.
I missed it. We're home again.
We are truly home, and we're going to be home for quite a bit after this game. We've got a home game coming up this Friday against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, as this is a ground ball to shortstop, picked up by Patrizzi. There's one out. Throw to first is not going to be, yes, it is in time.
I was going to say, that was absolutely in time.
That was in time. The only reason I hesitated is because I was looking at the first baseman, or the first base coach, and he was signaling safe. Threw me off guard, but that is going to be a double play, and that is great for the Matsu defense early on. So that is 2 out now here in the top of the second inning. And now R.J. Rickabaugh will come on. And that pitch from Detay will be outside of the zone for ball 1.
Well, I said it before. Detay is dotting the lower part of the zone, which is how you coax ground balls. And he succeeded in that venture. Got that twin killing to erase the opening base runner. He can pitch with the bases empty against Rickabaugh, who's one of the more dangerous hitters this Chinooks squad has. Batting just 138, but has driven in 7 runs.
Count is going to be 2-1 here now for R.J. Rickabaugh. Another freshman on this Chinooks lineup. And that's going to be ball number 3. Count goes to 3-1. So Ben Detay, who's already issued 2 walks in this game, in danger of issuing another. Getting some cheers from the crowd. And he got strike 2. Great answer from Detay.
Great job to find the zone right down the middle when you have to. His pitch count is already starting to climb. He's at 32 pitches in just the second inning.
And that's ball 4. So a full count walk issued to R.J. Rickabaugh. That is walk number 3 for Ben Detay here in the early going. Having some issues in some of these at-bats finding the zone.
Well, how important was that double play now? You'd have the bases loaded, nobody out. Or actually potentially have walked in a run just there if the before Broughton had been able to reach base. So massive conversion by the Miners defense to try and salvage this inning without a run scoring.
It's Orion Medeiros at the plate now for the Chinooks. Rickabaugh at first base. Medeiros, the 9-hole hitter. First time seeing him this evening. 118 average, 273 on base percentage. 3 total walks, and he's been struck out 7 times this year. This pitch well inside by Detay, and the count is going to go to 1-0. Medeiros playing right field tonight for Chugiak. Chinooks coming off a tough loss on the road at Mulcahy Stadium against the, would you believe it, the Anchorage Glacier Pilots back on Monday. There's a swing and a miss. Lost in a walk-off home run in the 10th inning by Luke Stolga, and would lose by a total score of 4-5.
Medeiros out of Kailua, Hawaii. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that right. Westmont College. He's a sophomore there. From one extreme of the 50 states to the other.
Yeah, it's almost polar opposites, so to speak, between Alaska and Hawaii. 2 different states, 2 different conditions, and a lot of different living styles, as that's going to be in the zone for a 2-2 count, but 2 beautiful places to visit and live in nonetheless. Medeiros in trouble with a 2-2 count and an opportunity for Ben Detay to get his second strikeout. That is well inside for ball 3. Medeiros letting it go by.
The Chinooks showing some great plate discipline here, making Detay work, but he's shown that he can win that battle. He's done it before. Let's see how he does here.
3-2, and that's going to be a hit by pitch. Well too far to the inside by Ben Detay that time, and the Chinooks now have runners on first and second. And for one of the first times today, Chugiak has a runner in scoring position, as Oliver Dagenhart will come to the plate. The other time was when Louis Salika got to second base on a double back in the first inning.
So each of the first 2 innings, they've had somebody reach second base. So far, nothing to show for it, and they're now back to the top of the order for the second time already, and we're only in the second inning. So Detay has faced a lot of batters, allowed a few base runners, but thus far no runs. He's been able to lock it down when it matters most.
That's the most important thing for Matsu right now. No matter how you have to get it done, just get it done. Count goes to 0-1. Dagenhart lined out to the first base side in his first at-bat of the game, right to Christian Perez. Matsu would be fine with a similar result right here. Detay, though, might be looking for a strikeout as the count goes to 0-2.
That was another one of those great defensive plays. The ball comes right at you. As the first baseman, you have to have cat-like reflexes to get down on one knee. It was almost at the ground, but Perez got down there.
Got to have great concentration as well, as that's going to be a swing and a miss. Throw to first is going to be in time, and Matsu does get a strikeout from Ben Detay to end the top half of the second. 2 Ks for Detay, but also 3 walks. He'll look to get that cleaned up, and Matsu will look to get on the board in the bottom half of this frame when we come back. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows on the call. It's the bottom half of the second between the Miners and the Chinooks. So far scoreless between these two Alaska Baseball League foes, but Matsu looking to get on the board here with Christian Perez leading off. It'll be Perez, Patrizi, and Kellen Strohmeyer. 4-5-6 for Matsu after a 1-2-3 inning in the bottom half of the first.
Perez out of Grand Canyon heading to Sacramento State in the spring via the transfer portal. He's hitting 189 with the Miners this year, 3 runs batted in, and a .302 on base percentage.
Count going to 0-1. Lets this go by, and that's strike 2.
That looked inside to me, but I think they might have gotten him on a swing. Tried to hold up, but just could not.
Yeah, went a little bit too far that time. Here's the 0-2. Perez lets this one go by and smartly decides to keep his bat behind, and the count goes to 1-2. Christian Perez looking for another highlight reel game tonight. He's already got one put out in the game as he's going to pop one up into shallow left field. A few players chasing after it, and it's going to die in foul territory. That's going to be a foul ball, and the count will stay at 1-2.
The Miners caught a huge break there. The third baseman for the Chinooks had a good line to it, but he tripped somewhere on the grass, and it fell out of play. So Perez gets another chance.
Yeah, David Broughton trying to make a play on it. He kind of lost his footing in foul ground and couldn't come up with it. So the 1-2 count, none away. Perez trying to get on base. Pitch from Golko. This is a line shot right to the shortstop, picked up by Degenhardt. Throw to first, and that's going to be the second 6-3 put out of the game for Chugiak. 1 away.
You remember this happened a similar way the last time these two teams played, and that was also, of course, with Frankie Golko on the mound. He was dealing early. It took a while for the Miners to chip away. I believe they didn't even score in that game until the 6th inning, and they wound up putting up 9 runs. So it's going to be a war of attrition between these two teams, and the Miners have demonstrated that they can win it.
And they've been in these types of battles before, so they know exactly what it takes to win these kinds of games. Heck, they did it last night against the Glacier Pilots. Count going to 0-1. Patrizi lets this go by, and it's going to be 0-2 just like that.
Patrizi's been one of the best hitters on this team, a .204 average, leads the team in slugging, .327, and most of the reason why was because the home run he hit down in Kenai. The only one that the Miners have hit thus far this year, although they've had a number of close calls.
They have not yet hit one here at their home ballpark this season either, so tonight would be a good night to have that happen. Perhaps it will. 1-2, this ball fouled off, and you can hear it clang off the press box. Count's going to stay at 1-2 for number 1.
We almost got a souvenir there. If they land on the left side of the press box, our left, there's a little hole in the netting that they can fall through. I believe we've gotten 2 balls that way so far this season.
The 1-2, and that's going to be a ball that gets away all the way to the backstop. Patrizi swung at it, but he's going to make it to first anyway. The ball got away from the catcher Rickabaugh, and Patrizi capitalizes.
Great hustle there by Patrizi. He's got a lot of speed, and he puts it to good use. Wild pitch. I thought he had gotten a piece of it because that did not appear as though the pitch was going to be wild off the hand of Golko, but the catcher immediately scrambled. He knew that it had not gone off the bat of Patrizi, and able to make him pay that time.
So Kellen Strohmeyer now at the plate, the right fielder, and Matsu with a base runner for the first time in this game, albeit in an unorthodox fashion, but they'll take it. Strohmeyer lets that one go by for ball 1. The Miners trying to get back to 500. If they win tonight and the Peninsula Oilers lose to the Anchorage Bucks, they would retake second place in the ABL standings. Here's a high fly ball out to left center. Racing after it is Hill, and Jaden Hill makes the catch for out 2. So Hill able to bring it in, although it was a great-looking shot off the bat by Kellen Strohmeyer. One of the deepest swings we've seen today. That'll send on Logan Vaughn, the catcher, with 2 outs. Vaughn, the backstop for Matsu in this game. And Vaughn, with 23 at-bats on the year, he got his first hit of the season yesterday against the Glacier Pilots. And now he wants his first hit at home against the Chinooks.
1 for 23 on the season. That's a .043 batting average, but he has driven in a pair of runs.
Here's a high fly ball out to right center field. Staying up there for a while, making it easy for Hill to come in and make the catch. So Matsu unsuccessful here. They do get one runner on base, but that's it. And the score is still goose egg to goose egg. We'll be back for the top half of the third. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back. We're in Palmer, Alaska once again. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. We've got a close game right now, 0-0 between the Miners and Chinooks. A lot of baseball still left to be played, but so far both defenses have been up to the task. Leading off in this frame will be Louis Alaika, the number 2 man in the order for the Chinooks.
The Miners more so, and that's mostly because Ben Detay has given them more chances to show their stuff. He's allowed a few base runners in this game, but so far, because of that excellent defense, a good catch by Perez in the first, a nice double play in the second, they've been able to keep the Chinooks off the scoreboard.
Line shot, that's going to drop down into right center field for a base hit. A looping single here for Louis Alaika to lead things off in the top of the third. He's got
first. You saw last game against the Glacier Pilots in game 2 of that doubleheader just how important it is to pitch when it matters most. And of course, Hayden Hattenbach.
High fly ball out to left field. This one back towards the wall, and it drops down right at the base of the wall in front of McCausland. Coming on to third now is Alaika. He stops, he's safe, and that's going to be a double for Jaden Hill. Hill, the king of the mountain right there.
That is the second hard hit ball that Detay has allowed. The first double was a little bit less hard hit down the right field line. That time it looked like off the bat it might be gone, but it'll be second and third with nobody out. Detay has been in a couple jams already, but this one definitely the most dire, with the cleanup man Groves up to bat trying to be true to his name.
Got 2 runners now in scoring position for the Chinooks as Brady Groves comes on. Chugiak coming into this game with a .215 batting average, .314 on base percentage as a team, and 2 home runs, 75 hits on the year. There's a strike by Detay, and the count goes to 0-1, one that Detay needed.
And Groves is hitting .235 on the season, has driven in 3 runs. In prime position for a couple more here, unless Detay can clutch up in a big way.
So far, he's off to a good start, as that's a swing and a miss by Groves. The count goes to 0-2. Chugiak is 3-6 on the road this season, so they have struggled in road environments to get the job done.
So they've only played 2 home games then.
They have only played a couple of home games, yes. This is a line shot foul towards the right field area. Count's going to stay at 0-2.
That's impressive. They're 1-1 there, so their only home loss, I guess, courtesy of these Miners.
So Matsu has been pretty solid against Chugiak in that one game. And we'll hope that that will be evidence for the future. And there's a strikeout from Detay. What a breaking ball. And that is 1 down here in the top of the third. A much-needed K for the man out of Iowa.
That is absolutely critical. Time and time again, Detay has gotten into these situations, but he's gotten exactly the thing that he needed to get out of it. And the first time, it was a double play with a man on first and nobody out. when things were looking potentially dire. That time, it is a strikeout, a non-contact out that doesn't give the runners a chance to advance. If he can replicate that here, he'll be in prime position to escape this with no runs.
Detay's got to be careful, though. He's already issued 3 walks in this game, and that's the biggest thing that could pose trouble to Matsu right now, especially with runners on second and third. And there's a strike. Count goes to 1-1. But Detay so far is clutched up in this game. Also got to watch for any ground ball shots in the infield. This defense will have to be ready for it. And most of the time, they certainly are.
He's got Jordan Jaffe up now.
1-1 count as Jaffe lets it go by. Count goes to 1-2. Flew out to center field his first time. Did, we'll call him Double J, reminiscent of Jeff Jarrett back in Tennessee. My Tennessee people, you know what I'm talking about.
Jaffe, a world traveler. He's from Thousand Oaks, California. Goes to Richmond College in Virginia. And now he's up here in Alaska.
Count goes to 2-2 here.
Hit .314 with the Spiders. Former Jewish Baseball News D1 All-America.
He has been a very critical offensive piece for the Chinooks this year. And now trying to drive one in. There's a swing and a miss, and that's going to be a strikeout for Detay. He has stepped up once again. That is out 2 here in the top of the third.
Well, we're seeing kind of the opposite ends of the pitching spectrum here from last night to today, and that's not to say that Ben Detay is pitching poorly, of course, compared to Hayden Hattenbach, who just completely blew everybody away and didn't even allow the Glacier Pilots to get any offense going. Detay has given up these chances, but at the end of the day, neither pitcher has allowed a run so far in their last couple of starts, and that is all that matters. Detay showing that he can perform under high leverage situations, and for college coaches that might be watching on these games, that is a critical skill they want to see.
Absolutely. Scouts love to see this kind of performance from Ben Detay under the pressure of the situation. And that's going to be a low pitch for a 1-1 count in the dirt. Vaughn keeping it in front of him, which is another critical aspect of this game right now. Vaughn can't let anything escape him and roll towards the backstop.
And Detay, of course, the elder statesman of this minors squad. He's a senior, so he's got a lot more experience than some of the other guys on this team, and he's been in these spots before.
Oldest player on the team issues a strike right there, and the count goes to 1-2.
He's one strike away from striking out the side after allowing second and third with nobody out. What an amazing Houdini act that would be.
It has been an impressive last couple of at-bats for Ben Detay. He wants his 3rd consecutive strikeout right here. He's not going to get it yet. A little bit high, and the count goes to 2-2.
That was definitely above the strike zone. The crowd wanted it, though. Once again, every seat in this park is filled, and then some. I've seen some camp chairs, people standing along the outfield fence.
2-2 count. Detay the pitch. Swing and a miss. Ben Detay with 3 straight strikeouts. K number 5 in the game. He is thriving here at home, and he gets out of a 2-runner in scoring position jam with no outs. We're on to the bottom half of the third. The Matsu defense and Ben Detay stepping up huge. We'll see if the offense can do the same. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to beautiful Palmer, Alaska at the base of the Chugach and Talkeetna Mountains here in the valley. It's a beautiful day for some baseball, and as Coldplay would say, baseball in Alaska is the adventure of a lifetime. Chase Wilcox at the plate leading off for Matsu here in the bottom half of the third, trying to strike first in this game. And that is going to be a hit by pitch. It looked like it got Wilcox close to the tailbone. Not exactly how Matsu wanted to start, but they'll take the free base there.
That's their first legitimate base runner. Don Patrizzi made it to first after striking out because of a wild pitch. He's on as a leadoff free pass, and he said the adventure of a lifetime. It's been the bad kind of adventure so far for the Miners in the early goings here. Frankie Gulko hasn't been perfect, but he's been good enough to prevent really any extended pressure from this Matsu offense, but this might be the spark they need. Nick Bisaccia certainly knows how to provide one.
That he does. The second baseman for Matsu showing bunt, and it goes right up and over our press box. That's got to be one of the farthest traveled bunts I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think I've ever seen a bunt attempt go further back than that. I mean, if that had gone into play, that might have dropped down for a single into the shallow outfield. Like, that's how far that was.
Nick Bisaccia has been eating his greens. That was a powerful thing off of the bat, as there's a throwback to first. Of course, obviously, probably got to give credit to Gulko on just how fast that pitch was as well.
There's also some physics at play there. Obviously, if it was hit into play, most of the energy of it would have been absorbed by the bat. The fact that it went behind meant that very little of the ball caught the bat, which meant that it conserved more of its energy and went way further back out of play. That's why you don't see people laying down bunt singles.
Professor Fellows, here's a bunt. It's fouled off once again, and the count's going to go to 0-2.
Call me Professor F.
Professor F.
Actually, don't call me that.
No? Okay.
That's a...
Don't want Professor F.
No, definitely not. Nick Bisaccia is hitting .226 so far this season. The Seton Hall Pirate has been heating up a bit lately. 3 runs batted in. Struck out just 5 times, which is tied for the fewest on this squad.
0-2 count. Pitch to Bisaccia. Here's a line shot right to the second baseman. And that is going to be one away here in the bottom half of the third. Louis Zalaika making the catch.
Good catch there by Zalaika off of the bat of Nick Bisaccia. And now we're back to the top of the order with Drake Kerr.
Yep, Drake Kerr coming on. We've spoke about him at length today, but Bears repeating just how dominant he can be offensively. Best batting average on the team, most stolen bases in the ABL. Up there at the top of the leaderboard and most hits in the ABL.
He's cooled off a bit the last couple games. He was hitting over 300 for a bit. He's down to 271 now, but that 386 on base percentage is the stat you need to see. That is also tops on the team, and that is a much more important stat because be it on a walk, a bunt, what have you, he knows how to get on base.
Count goes to 0-1 here. For those of you who didn't tune into our stream yesterday, he orchestrated a stunt where we lost our soundboard for a little bit. We didn't know where it had gone. We ended up finding it later on, and Drake eventually admitted, yeah, I was the one that orchestrated that. Here's a bunt laid down, and that is going to be a perfect bunt that's going to put Kerr at first. Runners at first and second for the Miners as the Chinooks tried but failed to do something with it.
You know, after a while, it seems just like we would have been shocked if he hadn't been safe on that.
Yeah.
That is just how incredible Drake Kerr is at laying down bunts. People might laugh when the first accolade we say every time we bring up Drake Kerr for the first time is he's the best bunter on the team. You might say, oh, well, surely there are better things you could say about him. But you got to understand, there is no one else in the ABL who can do that on a consistent basis like Drake Kerr can.
Bunting is not punting when it comes to baseball. It is a massive thing that can change the exact tempo of a game. The runner's going to third. Here's the throw to second. Kerr is going to make it in time, and Matsu now has 2 runners in scoring position.
The catcher, Rickabaugh, didn't even try on that
he
one.
did not.
As the runners got such a large jump, and it was an off-speed pitch from Gulko, so 2 runners in scoring position, 1 out. That's a scenario that the Chinooks themselves saw in the top half of this inning. They were not able to convert on it. Let's see what the Miners can do.
So now Blake Baltz with an opportunity with 2 runners in scoring position to potentially put Matsu on the board first.
He's got 4 RBIs this season, and he can add to that total here.
Got 1 yesterday for the Miners as well. Opportunity is certainly knocking for Matsu. Trying to strike first in this game. The count is 2-0 for the UCLA man. Baltz lets it go by. That's a strike. Count goes to 2-1. Baltz working as the DH today for Matsu. Struck out looking his first time up against Frankie Gulko.
It also bears mentioning, back to that Drake Kerr thing, that was the first hit of the day for the Miners, and it came on the beginning of the second time through the order, and it came on a hit that by pretty much everyone else in the ABL would have resulted in an out. Drake Kerr, the only one who's able to leg that out. That is how you manufacture offense out of nothing. We've seen Drake Kerr do it time and time again. He has parlayed that with his speed as well, the stolen base getting down to second, into a prime opportunity for Blake Baltz to get the Miners on the board.
Yeah, the count goes to 3-1 now as Frankie Gulko has issued 2 consecutive balls, and Baltz with a chance to capitalize. There's a strike. Nice breaking ball by Frankie Gulko, and the count goes full at 3-2. The runner on third is Chase Wilcox. The runner on second is Drake Kerr. And the Matsu Miners are this close to taking the lead.
Baltz has looked at 5 straight pitches here. He's sizing up Gulko. And he might be trying to coax a walk.
Payoff pitch, and that is going to be a swing and a miss. So Blake Baltz strikes out against Frankie Gulko, and that is now 2 away here in the bottom half of the third. Bit of a missed opportunity there, but Kyle McCausland will try to make it right.
Big conversion there by Frankie Gulko. In the mold of Ben Detay, a massive strikeout to shift the tides a little bit, but the Miners still in prime position, and Kyle McCausland, who has hit doubles like no one else on the Miners this season, if he did that here, it would get the Miners on the board for sure.
This pitch well inside. The count goes to 1-0. McCausland lined out to the third baseman in his last at-bat, but he's been known for his deep shots that he's been delivering as of late. He has been a master when it comes to the double.
He's tops on the team with 4, and he had 2 of them last night that were very close to being home runs.
As that's going to get away from Rickabaugh. He's able to cover it up, but that was almost a disaster for the Chinooks that could have scored Chase Wilcox. And Matsu would have gotten on the board first. Instead, the count goes to 2-0. So McCausland awaiting his opportunity. 8 total hits on the season. He wants hit number 9 right here.
It's one of those inflection points to look back on early in the game.
He's going to pop this one up. Into the infield it goes, and the third baseman wants it. The catch is made by David Broughton, and that will do it for the bottom half of the third. So Matsu puts 2 in scoring position but can't come up with a run. The score still 0-0 between these two teams. Charlie Fellows will take over through the middle 4 innings. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube.
Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska, home of the Matsu Miners, a home that has treated them well, and they're hoping to be the first ones to break through in this 0-0 tied game as we enter the 4th inning between the Miners and the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks. Unfortunately, they aren't at the bat right now, so Chugiak is going to try to finally break through against Ben Detay. They've come oh so close to doing it, but they haven't been able to as of yet, much to the delight of the Miners fans in attendance and all the Miners fans watching on the stream. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons, as always, the voices of the Miners, as that's popped up by Broughton into foul territory. Wilcox under it, and he's got it for out number 1 in foul territory.
Nice work by Wilcox that time. You know, the Matsu infield defense has played so well these last few games. It's been a huge bright spot for them, and I think that's got to be music to the ears of head coach Ty LeBrun and this entire coaching staff. The progression they've made, it's been awesome to watch, and right now it is continuing here tonight against the Chinooks.
R.J. Rickabaugh, another Richmond Spider, along with Jordan Jaffe on this squad. Ben Detay looking for a clean 1-2-3 inning, something that would be just what the doctor ordered. He's got 63 pitches in the 4th inning. As that's ripped to Wilcox on the ground, he'll throw it across. Perez has got it, and that's 1 pitch, 1 out, just what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, again, Chase Wilcox coming up clutch, showing you that he can get one from the sky, can bring one off from the ground. He's been very controlled tonight and very good at understanding the situation, not overreacting, not overthinking things, and that's exactly what Matsu needs early on, especially in this kind of game where scoring is coming at a premium.
Master of the earth, master of the sky. Chase Wilcox with the glove. Orion Medeiros, the 9-man out of Hawaii, looks at a strike on the inside corner. So all of a sudden, Ben Detay seems to have really found his form. Back right into the chain link fence. Get some motion sickness for all you out there. Ben Detay working quickly. 2 down here in the 4th. Here's the pitch. And another foul ball.
I think that one actually got into the press box area on the fence out here.
There's some applause coming from the fans right to the right of the press box, so I think that is indeed what happened. So here's the pitch. Mile-high pop into right field. Strohmeyer under it. And he's got it, barely even has to move, so that indeed is a 1-2-3 frame. Ben Detay has found his form, and he's keeping the Chinooks off the scoreboard. No need for drama that time. We're going to head to the bottom of the 4th with the Miners looking to break through. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Bottom 4 here in Palmer. Perez, Patrizi, Strohmeyer, the 3 due up against Frankie Gulko, who has yet to show any real chinks in his armor. That 2nd and 3rd with 1 out debacle last inning notwithstanding, he was able to navigate out of that. And now we're hoping that he won't keep on following the pattern of mimicking what Ben Detay does, because Detay had one of the quickest half innings we've seen all season in the top half of this frame.
Absolutely. He was excellent in that last half frame, and now we'll see if the Matsu offense can capitalize on that momentum. And Christian Perez at the plate, a guy who has played for Grand Canyon, also played for New Mexico State, team out of Conference USA, always representing.
Line shot into center field down for a base hit. Went just over the glove of Gulko. And Christian Perez has the 2nd knock of the game for the Miners. 2nd straight inning they've started with a base runner.
Yeah, nice one right over Gulko that time into shallow center field. And Christian Perez raking as he usually does at least once or twice a game. That was a nice line shot and right between the second baseman and shortstop. Kind of what Christian Perez has been known for, those nice gap shots, and he's one of the best at them.
Well, here's Don Patrizi. He was the first base runner allowed by Gulko. He struck out swinging, but a wild pitch allowed him to reach first base, and he lays down a bunt here. Golko will field it and toss it on to first base in time to retire Patrizzi, but advancing into scoring position is Perez.
Yeah, nice little bunt that time, laid it down pretty well. Obviously, it was easy for Golko to take care of, but it does the job and advances Perez to second. No complaints here.
Number 31, Kellen Strohmeyer.
And now it will be Kellen Strohmeyer with 1 on and 1 out. Patrizzi looking for a ride home, and Strohmeyer hoping to be the one to give it to him. The Iowa Hawkeye, same college as his pitcher, hitting 160 so far this year with just 1 run batted in. He'd love to double.
A tough thing to deal with, but we still got an opportunity with Logan Vaughn coming up here.
Logan Vaughn, the 0.43 or the .03 average, 0.43 average, I should say, but don't let that fool you. During the MLB showcase down in Anchorage a couple weekends ago, in those games that did not count for the official ABL stats, he was excellent. He had a few hits, including a double down the right field line. Looking to translate that here, but instead he'll ground it to second. Throwing on to first. Zalatia to Jaffe, the connection, and that will retire the side. The Miners strand another man in scoring position. They are locked up in a 0-0 tie, waiting for them or the Chinooks to blink. We'll see who does first. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Here we are in the 5th inning now. Top 5 between the Matsu Miners and Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks. A 0-0 tie under the beautiful summer sun at Herman Brothers Field. Ben Detay still on the bump, and he fires in a strike to Oliver DeGenhart, beginning this 3rd time through the order for Chugiak.
Yeah, Degenhart, the freshman out of St. Louis, Missouri, played for Truman State this past year. 3 hits versus William Jewell.
And that's ripped on the ground to third base. Wilcox once again up and gunning, and he's made a couple great plays so far in this game. Add that one to the list.
Matsu's working so fast, I can't even get my points out. Just want to make sure to get this thing going and over with when it comes to defense, and that's what they've been doing all night. And how about Chase Wilcox once again, another 5-3 putout, showing great control from the third base area as usual.
The pitchers have been good in this game, but I think the defense on both sides, especially on the Miners side, has been better. Here's Louis Zulaika to dig in with one away. Detay starts him off with a strike on the inside corner. He's definitely calibrated his delivery a lot better. In these last couple innings, he has been dealing so quickly and hasn't given the Chinooks a chance to really breathe, and hasn't given my co-commentator here a chance to give any of his
I can't say
analysis.
my points.
Yeah.
Don't you want to hear my analysis, Miners? I'm just kidding. Keep doing what you're doing.
Well, the Miners don't need your analysis. That's ripped into left center field, into the glove of McCausland, 2 away.
Here's one take that I do want to talk about. Ever since that 2 runners in scoring position, no out situation, which I believe was in the 3rd, Ben Detay has just been on point. And you talked about it a little bit earlier. The way he's played in the last couple frames has been sensational. I think that getting out of that jam kind of just reinstilled that confidence. He's felt even better about himself. And, of course, when you've got a defense like this backing you up, it makes things all the easier.
Jaden Hill pops up the first pitch, and this is going to be another lightning quick inning if Perez can get to it. And he doesn't get to it, but the catcher does. What a play by Logan Vaughn on the gravel. That is, I think, the new record holder for the fastest half inning we have seen, and that is now 9 straight batters set down by Ben Detay. He is going for the speed run here at Herman Brothers Field. It's a 0-0 game, though, so the Miners' bats hopefully going to get him in line for the win. In the bottom of the 5th inning, they'll do their best. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Bottom of the 5th we go. We're halfway home here at Herman Brothers Field, and it's been a lightning quick game thus far. No runs on the scoreboard, only a few runners on the base paths, and lately they've all been Miners, as Ben Detay has been absolutely dealing. Bisaccia, Drake Kerr, the 3 due up. All 3 are absolutely potent with the bat, as Wilcox spoils that one for strike 1.
Yeah, Wilcox has had a couple of great innings defensively so far, still looking for that offensive spark, and he suffered a hit by pitch in his first at-bat, so he really hasn't had an opportunity, but he got all the way to third base before being eventually stopped by Frankie Gulko and company. So he's trying to make the complete revolution here.
0-1, another foul ball. We were talking about it between innings, trying to do the math, and the number we came out to is 15 straight innings pitched by Miners pitchers without allowing a run. And that includes game 1 of that Glacier Pilots doubleheader, which you may recall ended in a tie game, as that is fouled off again, the 3rd straight foul ball off the bat of Wilcox. That was a 2-2 final score that the Glacier Pilots won, but nonetheless, between that, of course, they didn't allow a run in the second game, and now through 5 innings of this 9-inning affair, that is 15 straight frames without allowing a run. That's on the ground to short. Here is the shortstop throwing on. It'll be just in time to cut down Wilcox.
That is Fort Knox levels of locking down by Matsu over the past few innings, both in this game and game number 2 against the Glacier Pilots. They have just continued to do what they do defensively, and it comes back to great pitching, great execution on the infield defense, which they struggled with a little bit earlier on in the season. So for them to develop in the way that they have is got to be so gratifying, not just to the coaches, but to the players themselves and to the fans.
It's been exciting to watch for sure, as Bisaccia went around there for strike 1, but it only makes you wonder just how much more dominant this team could be if they could regain some of that offensive form that they had so often in the early goings of the season. Bisaccia looks at another strike. Frankie Gulko has not missed the strike zone this inning.
Yeah,
He's got a quick Gulko all of a sudden channeling his inner Ben Detay here, 2 away in the 5th.
Yeah, Bisaccia thinking he had an opportunity at that. Don't blame him for swinging at it, but he just didn't have enough clearance to get that thing into the outfield. Obviously, he was being pretty aggressive in that plate appearance. Didn't pay off for him. But now we go back to the top of the order, and Drake Kerr, man who already has a single for Matsu in this game, one of the 2 hits that the Miners have.
And, of course, it was off of a bunt. He takes one outside for ball 1. Gulko came into this game with 9 strikeouts on the season. He's added to that total here. 2-0 here on Kerr, however.
Mr. Visai, man from Oklahoma. You talked about it earlier. 600 people are all that live in Visai, Oklahoma. I grew up in a town of about 4,000, give or take, Spencer, Tennessee, so not quite as small. I do understand what the small town environment can be like, but talk about small town USA, he is absolutely the embodiment of that.
I'm from a town in Maine of about 20,000 people, and I fancied myself a small town kid growing up, but compared to the 2 numbers that you guys have just recited, I feel like a city slicker. 2-2 here on Kerr. the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islander.
And you know, growing up in that environment, you learn a lot about different things that you may not run into living other lives, and things that can really stick with you for the rest of your life and give you a certain attitude, so to speak. There's a certain small town attitude that certain people have, and I think Drake Kerr has taken a lot of positive strides using that attitude, and it's helped carry him to this point in life.
I'm sure there are a lot of cliches you can say about that. Being from a town so small, you got a chip on your shoulder, always with something to prove. Drake Kerr plays like that every day. Hits one to the shortstop, throws on to first in time to retire this for Goko and the Chinooks. 1-1, or 0-0, I should say. The score remains here at Herman Brothers Field. Who is going to blink first? To find out the answer, stay right here. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. It's the top of the 6th inning in Herman Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, we've been watching a pitching masterclass all game long. But if prior experience shows, it's about to get even more dominant. Ben Detay was excellent through 5 innings, but he is relieved by one of the most lights-out arms in the bullpen of the Matsu Miners. It is Jack Hostetler.
The man, the myth, the legend, Jack Hostetler, one of the best players on this Matsu team, a 0.90 ERA on the season. He's given up 1 earned run in 10 innings, a 1-1 record, 2 appearances on the year. Jack Hostetler, a guy who is a danger to strike you out every time you step up to the plate. And Hostetler is going to look to do that here against the Chinooks.
Yeah, there are a couple guys on the team who still have 0.00 ERAs, and that's, of course, extremely impressive. But they did it across a much smaller sample size. To get that close to 0 without actually being there, it means that you have thrown a lot of innings and allowed very few runs. And that's what Jack Hostetler has done. He is not a stranger to the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks. He appeared, I believe, or no, he did not appear in that Chinooks game. He was at the home opener. He's not a stranger to the crowds here at Herman Brothers. He locked down the Glacier Pilots as the Miners came back to win that home opener 9-4, and he'll take his talents to test them against Chugiak-Eagle River as he starts Groves off with a ball.
He had 6 innings pitched in that game. He gave up 1 total hit, 5 strikeouts. There's a reason we hype this guy up, because he is absolutely flawless from the mound on most occasions.
Cutting a miss on a heater by Brady Groves.
And he's a guy that I'm sure scouts are going to be looking at as the season progresses. Would not be shocked if we see him at a Power 5 school before too long, with the ability that he's shown and what he's done for Whitman College in Washington, as we see the count go to 2-1.
A lot of guys in the ABL have aspirations of using this as a springboard to get from a lower caliber school. Not that Whitman is a lower level of competition or anything. Of course, people playing against Whitman have had to bat against Jack Hostetler, so it's definitely still a high level of play. But using this as a way to get into the Power 5, like you mentioned, that's a bounding ball just fouled down the third base line. It will be 2-2.
Yeah, they use it as an opportunity to help develop their skills. That's what they've been talked to a lot about by the coaches and the management themselves, both with the Miners and I'm sure all across the ABL. It's an opportunity to better yourself, position yourself, not just for better colleges, but also for the major leagues one day. That's why we've seen major league scouts coming out to these games, taking a look at these players. They are, in many ways, the future.
Little jump the gun on there, I think, on that glass shattering sound effect, as that ball did not leave the field of play. They're going to need someone, perhaps a new trainee on the soundboard today. Here's a 2-ball and 2-strike offering from Hostetler. Down the middle for a strikeout. Wasting no time, showing the crowd what he is made of. One away.
Yeah, get ready to watch a show, folks. Jack Hostetler, one of the guys who has the most complete control from the mound and did not waste any time getting a strikeout looking on Brady Groves. That's the kind of control that Matsu needs. They know just how important it is to win this game and maybe get back into that second place spot in the ABL, and they're playing like it right now with Jack Hostetler continuing to deal.
The Bucks and Oilers are facing off right now as we speak. Don't have an update on that score in a little bit, but if the Oilers fall to the Bucks, as they did last night, and the Miners are able to win this game, that would get the Miners back into sole possession of second place in the ABL. It would also get the Miners back to 500. Here's the 1-1 from Hostetler against Jordan Jaffe, and that's hit right between the legs of Hostetler. Coming on Patrizzi, throwing to first. What a play by Dom Patrizzi. The shortstop's defense has been superb the last couple games, and he
great control, did not hesitate to get that ball out, and showed great form the entire way. That is a guy who's just getting better and better as this season moves forward.
Right down the middle for a strike to Smith. I also want to give a little bit of credit there to Hostetler for jumping out of the way, making sure the ball didn't carry him off of his legs and render that play unmakeable. Patrizzi had just enough time to run on and throw it from the dirt. And Hostetler now doing what Hostetler does. He's one pitch away from an inning-ending strikeout.
Here's your update on the Oilers and the Bucks. Peninsula up 5-0 in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They'll do that at their home park. Miners fans, of course, well aware of the perils of playing down at Carl Seymour Memorial Ballpark. Maybe it's the Anchorage Bucks now getting a dose of reality.
It is strange to see what happens whenever you head down to Kenai, Alaska. Something about that ballpark, it just...
What did you call it? The mystery zone?
The Bizarro
Land.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we call it.
Yeah, it was certainly Bizarro Land for many different games out there. A lot of crazy things going on if you watch some of those broadcasts. But Matsu has come out of the other side of it better than ever.
1-2 from Hostetler, just inside. Cade Smith hanging in there. A freshman at the University of Arkansas.
Yeah, I think maybe the only SEC player in the Alaska Baseball League. SEC not super represented this year, but certainly is with this guy.
Trying to make it 16 straight frames without allowing a run. The Miners in that time have only scored 1 run, but that one run was enough for a win, and it would be again today based on how the pitchers are playing. That's a full count here.
That is such a luxury to know that your defense and your pitching is that good that you don't have to score a lot of runs. You just got to score enough runs, and that is something that Matsu is trying to use right here.
Payoff pitch right down the middle. Jack Hostetler's second K, and a 1-2-3 frame for the Miners. The pitching continues to be electric, and it's delighting these Palmer fans. Let's see if the offense can finally get the Miners on the board and get them in position for a win. It's the bottom of the 6th coming right up. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Blake Baltz, Kyle McCausland, Christian Perez, the 3 due up, 2-3-4, the heart of the Miners lineup as they try to finally break through against Frankie Gulko and this Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks defense in the defensive struggle that this game has been. In the bottom of the 6th, Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons, as always, bringing you the action, and Blake Baltz getting ready to dig in. He had a chance for an RBI a couple innings ago in that second and third one-out situation, but Gulko was able to navigate it. Try and get the better of Baltz here once again. Swing and a miss, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, the pitching has been really the star of the show on both sides so far, and that's been a familiar theme throughout the last few games, and Matsu in a familiar spot. A defensive game where you've got to find a way to make a difference late. They were able to yesterday. You just need 1 or 2 runs, it feels like, in this situation to make all the difference. And the Miners have been very good at finding ways to gut out runs. I'll have to do that again.
2-1, chopped foul.
Baltz has been pretty quiet, like you mentioned. He struck out twice already in this game, both times on full count, so he's gotten the count full twice in a row. It just comes down to finishing the job that he'll have to change here as the count is 2-2 and looking kind of familiar to what we've seen in his first 2 plate appearances.
Trying to get a leadoff base runner for the 3rd straight inning. Or rather, 3rd out of the last 4 frames, and he takes one low to work the count full yet again.
Yeah, his 3rd consecutive full count. Let's see if the 3rd time is the charm for number 5.
Payoff pitch from Gulko, and chopped on the ground to the first baseman. A bang-bang play, but legging it out is Jordan Jaffe to get the first out of the inning.
Yeah, good work by Jaffe. If you actually saw on the right side, he slipped for just a second. I thought he might be about to take a tumble, but he kept his footing up and decided to wave off Gulko. Took the unassisted out at first, and that's a big first out here for Chugiak in the bottom of the 6th.
Kyle McCausland has been set down twice by the 3rd baseman in this game. Trying to get his first hit of the day. He's been alternating back and forth between monster games lately. He had 2 doubles in that Anchorage Bucks game, then was quiet in the first half of the Glacier Pilots doubleheader before knocking another pair of extra base hits in game 2. With 1 out, a 1-1 count here.
Team leader in doubles with 4. And he is looking for another one right here. It would be an opportune time to get it. You feel like you need one of those splash plays at this point. Matsu does not have an extra base hit in this game so far. That's one place where Gulko has especially shined. Maybe they can change that.
1-2. Weak grounder, foul back out of play. It's been a struggle at times for this team to generate runs. Whichever team scores first, you got to think based on how this game has gone, those runs are going to be the deciding factor in this game. Somebody is getting shut out today. You just kind of get that feeling. Here's Gulko's 1-2. Into right field, left field I should say, stopped by the shortstop, throwing it across his body, but it won't be in time. Kyle McCausland legs it out. It was a nice stop by the shortstop DeGenhart, but he couldn't throw it on in time. The speed on display by the left fielder McCausland, and he's on with his first hit of the day.
Yeah, that was a nice hit. Degenhart trying to dig in and get that baseball. Got a glove over it, but he just couldn't leg it out to first in time. It was in such a far-off spot in shallow left field that there really wasn't any opportunity for a play. Although I'll give him credit, he made it a lot closer than I thought it would be. Just couldn't get it to Jaffe, and now Matsu with a runner at first.
Well, Perez had a single his last time up, so potentially some momentum ongoing here. Gulko throws over to McCausland. You know he's got wheels with the amount of doubles he's hit this year. First pitch coming to Perez, and it'll be coming in a bit.
Yeah, just getting better and better as this season moves forward. He'll get above 200 before too long with his batting average, and I'd say by the end of the season he's going to be...
Runner goes, pitch comes in, that was a ball, and the throw comes in, and that beat him. Kyle McCausland struck down by the catcher Rickabaugh, and the base paths will be empty once again.
Well, we've seen it time and time again this year. Matsu is very quick when it comes to stolen base opportunities. I mean, we knew McCausland was going to do his best to take second base. He just could not get there in time. Good recognition by Rickabaugh, but it's unfortunate for Matsu.
And that's hit into left field, and now it's going to drop down for a base hit. I thought that was just a lazy fly ball, but it fell in front of Groves out in left. So one base runner is cut down and another immediately takes his place. Perez has got a multi-hit game.
Yeah, 2 straight singles. That was a very odd one. Groves just kind of stopped for a second and let that thing drop. I think he had an opportunity to dive for it. Must have decided better of it at the last moment. Could have also lost it in the sun for just a second and couldn't exactly see it and just kind of dropped in front of him.
It was weird. He took a weird angle to it and it looked like he didn't quite know what was going on. So a man on with 2 outs for Dom Patrizzi, who spoils one back out of play.
Yeah, I think
And
that
there's
would...
a car alarm going off now.
Is that what that is?
Definitely nothing to do with the ball that just went into foul territory. Nobody is parked on the premises, but maybe that's a new soundboard option. Here's the 0-1. Hi.
Yeah, Patrizzi had a bunt last time out, a pretty solid bunt that was able to advance Christian Perez onto second base. But he's going to need a really big swing in this moment to put Matsu over the top.
1-1 from Gulko, who is over 80 pitches now. Throws to first instead. This will almost certainly be his last frame.
Yeah, I'm sure that he is almost running on empty at this point with the amount of pitches he's had in this game. Trying to finish out this 6th inning. Just got to lock down one more. Patrizzi trying to spoil that.
Patrizzi, and I think that caught his bat. It was an unlucky foul ball.
Looks like it did.
So that will be 1-2. He was just trying to duck out of the way, but he stuck his bat up there, and it just happened to glance off of it. Now the umpires are going to confer just to clarify the ruling of that pitch. It hasn't gone up on the scoreboard yet. Patrizzi and Rickabaugh having a bit of a conversation, and the umpires are going to confer. It was weird. It looked like one of those pitches where Patrizzi, it was high and tight, so Patrizzi ducked out of the way, but in doing so, he inadvertently stuck his bat up there, and the ball happened to carry him right off it, but it also might have gone off of the catcher's helmet, so we're not sure. The umpire coming back to home plate, and he's going to show the count soon. And now here comes Tyler Brunt. Is he going to try and say that Patrizzi was hit by this pitch? I don't think so, because Patrizzi would be making much more of a show of it if he thought he had been, I think.
Yeah, you saw the home plate umpire. He laid out a signal there. I believe that was for a foul ball. So, in theory, that would make it a 1-2 count. And I think LeBron is trying to argue that, hey, I think that it may have made contact with him. Because obviously, we've still got Patrizzi at the plate, so I'm sure that's what the argument's about right now. Die on that hill, just going to share some of his thoughts. He obviously had a wild day yesterday, ended up getting thrown out of the first game against the Glacier Pilots.
And with his assistants taking over the coaching job, they ended up getting a 1-0 win. Obviously, not suggesting any causality there, but he was happy for his team. Fouled back there by Patrizzi.
And sometimes when you have your head coach get out of the game like that, it almost serves as an inspiration for the players. They're like, hey, this coach, he's willing to put this on the line for us. Now we've got to give it our all. And we saw that defensively yesterday and offensively at the most pivotal of moments in that second game. And Coach LeBron showing his stuff.
He went around. That'll be strike 3. Patrizzi down on strikes. Frankie Gulko cruises yet again. Allows a couple of hits, but nothing comes of it. 0-0 as we head to the 7th. This game coming down to the wire, and it is going to be close no matter which way it goes, so stay with us. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. on to the 7th. Still no score between the Miners and the Chinooks. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons bringing you this game, which despite there not having been any scoring yet, it has been action-packed. These pitchers and defenses giving us so many highlight-level plays, and Jack Hostetler, based on how the first inning went, has probably got a few more of them in store.
Yeah, as you can imagine, it almost feels like, though, at some point in this game, especially late, somebody is about to break through, and it might be these teams' bullpens that makes the difference so far. Jack Hostetler has been great out of the pen for Matsu.
It'll be 7, 8, and 9 due up for Chugiak-Eagle River. Broughton, Rickabaugh, and Medeiros getting their first cracks at Hostetler, who
we know he's certainly capable, and right now they're going to need him to be as capable as he can be against Chugiak.
Any run that the Miners surrender could potentially be the difference in this game with how Frankie Gulko has been pitching, although his pitch count is pretty high up there, so the Chinooks might be about to go into their bullpen. Here's the first offering, and it's on the ground, foul off the bat of Broughton.
That's why I said these bullpens are going to be crucial down the stretch. Chugiak, at least on paper, a little bit more top-heavy than Matsu, with some of their pitchers being really good, some not quite living up to the same standard. Matsu with great pitching across the board, and that, at least in that case, favors them in this game.
The bull coin flip for the manager of Chugiak-Eagle River as to who he goes to.
Yeah, Timothy Cole's going to have a tough decision here. Of course, he has a lot of experience in these situations.
That's high, low and away. Good stop there by Logan Vaughn.
Head coach at Heston College from 2018 to 2020, and previously was an assistant coach at Southern Nazarene for 6 years, and was a pitching coach from 2014 to 2018, so he certainly knows what to do in these situations.
Cut and a miss. Down he goes. That'll be K number 3 for Hostetler. One away in the 7th.
And Jack just continues to deliver for Matsu. Perfect fastball right down the alley that time, and Broughton nothing that he could really do in that situation. He swung at it, but that was going to be hard to hit no matter what he did, and Jack Hostetler continuing with his command of this game.
R.J. Rickabaugh up with one away. Hostetler in a groove, and he starts Rickabaugh off 0-1.
Rickabaugh did force a walk on Ben Detay, one of his 3 walks that he issued through his several innings of action. Last time he grounded out to third base.
Same pitch, same result, 0-2. Hostetler and Detay combining for an excellent pitching performance after the equally great performance yesterday in the second half of the Pilots doubleheader with Hattenbach, Smith, and Kennan pitching a 7-inning shutout. That's on the ground to short. Patrizzi fielding, throwing, and that's going to be high and over the head of Perez. So rounding first, heading for second, his Rickabaugh throw comes in. That was offline. Could have maybe had a play there, but unfortunately the throw from the catcher who was covering first base was not in time. That's going to be an E6, and he gets all the way to second base. Rickabaugh on, the first base runner allowed by Jack Hostetler.
Yeah, you saw Nick Bisaccia trying to tag at Rickabaugh that time. He almost pointed for a second like, hey, I may have made a play on him, but Rickabaugh able to beat him out no matter what took place. And that's a tough E6 on Don Patrizzi. Did a good job of trying to get it to first base, but just couldn't put it in accurately. And all of a sudden, the Oilers, the Chinooks, have an opportunity here late.
They're red, and we're used to saying
Yes.
Oilers, so you can forgive us. Hostetler now going to pitch to Orion Medeiros with a man in scoring position and one away, and he let the first one low.
Medeiros has a hit-by pitch in this game and flew out to right field his last time up, so he's got the capability to go deep, and right now I think that's the biggest thing for both sides is the ability to go deep, to get it over these infielders, because that's been the big difference in this one.
Right down the middle. For the Miners, obviously, just got to lock down that defense. Patrizzi committing an error there at short, but a forgivable one, I think. That was a pretty tough play. He was throwing off balance, still sailed it over the head of Perez and allowed a runner to get to scoring position. Defense are going to try to atone for that here. Here is Hostetler, who gets Medeiros to cut and a miss on some high cheese. 1-2.
He is absolutely firing on these fastballs now. Another one up and high, and nothing that Medeiros could do about it in that situation. Count going to 1-2, and Jack Hostetler looking for yet another K.
Little bloop to first. Perez will take it himself and tag the bag for out number 2. Down to third base goes Rickabaugh, but a big second out for the Miners as Hostetler tries to get himself out of this.
In a way, that was a swinging bunt that time by Medeiros just along the first base line, and a good job by Perez to field it, but it does get the job done to some degree, and now the leading run for the Chinooks is just 90 feet away from scoring. So Jack Hostetler in this defense will have to come up clutch one more time against Oliver Degenhart.
The top of the order, Degenhart swings and misses at another high fastball. That's Hostetler's go-to pitch to get ahead in the count, and it works for him there.
Yeah, if you get ahead in the count, you kind of have that sense of control, and that's where Jack Hostetler plays his best. Nice high fastball, and I'm sure he's going to try it again right here.
Fouled back.
A little bit more off speed that time. Not quite the same zip, but it gets the job done. Now we'll see if he tries to finish. Degenhart obviously probably expecting that fastball to come in. We'll see if Hostetler can deliver.
Hostetler, not exactly someone who needs to feel imposing on the mound. That 6'3" frame does it for him. That's weakly hit to third base. Wilcox will throw on, and in time, no, it won't be in time. It went in and out of the glove of Perez, who had to stretch. He did everything he could doing the splits, but it wasn't enough to get the ball into his mitt, so Chugiak-Eagle River strikes first. Rickabaugh comes around to score, and they lead it 1-0.
Yeah, he did. It's just an unfortunate turn of events with 2 outs, and all of a sudden, the Chinooks with an advantage.
That's hit right at Hostetler, and he'll toss it underhand to retire the side, but the dam is broken, and the Chinooks are the first water that seeps through the cracks. They've got a 1-0 lead here as we head to the 7th inning stretch. The Miners now with the onus to answer. They're going to try and tie it up or take the lead and make sure that this masterful pitching performance won't be for naught. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
Get ready to sing along.
On the other side of the 7th inning stretch, the Miners find themselves in a 1-0 hole. The run wasn't earned, but it was a run nonetheless. The Chinooks finally strike first, and now the Miners will try to answer. It will be Kellen Strohmeyer, Logan Vaughn, and Chase Wilcox to bat against Frankie Gulko, who is on for his 7th inning of work. He fires in a ball to start off Strohmeyer, and he is approaching 90 pitches, so got to figure only a matter of time until the Miners are able to get something off of him. He is quickly behind 2-0 against the Iowa man here.
Yeah, you usually don't see ABL pitchers go this long, but obviously there is no question about it with Frankie Gulko. He wants to go for as long as possible, and the Chinooks want him to do the same. That's where Matsu can capitalize, like you mentioned, but he's showing no signs of slowing down as he issues another strike right here. Matsu's got to find out something about this pitching that they can use to their advantage, and Kellen Strohmeyer, a very high IQ baseball player with a chance to do just that.
2-1 and just a tiny little bit of contact off the bat of Strohmeyer, so that will even the count.
There is action over in the Chugiak bullpen right now, so you'd imagine that soon enough we might see that pitching change, especially if Gulko gives up a couple of hits here.
2-2, just inside. Rickabaugh had trouble handling it, and it will be 3 balls and 2 strikes. Chance for a leadoff walk, something that Gulko has not surrendered yet today.
He's going to try to use that fastball in this situation, I'd imagine.
And indeed, that was inside, nearly got Strohmeyer, but it accomplished the same thing, just a little less painfully. A leadoff walk. Strohmeyer is aboard, and for the first time, Frankie Gulko showing potentially some signs of fatigue. Logan Vaughn is going to try and pounce all over that.
That is the first walk he has issued today to Matsu. And like you mentioned, that could be a telltale sign that something could be going a little amiss here. As we've got some people in the chat cheering on Jack Hostetler, good to see.
That bunt laid down just foul, and Strohmeyer was running. It'll be 0-1 on Logan Vaughn, who has 2 runs batted in on the season, 1 hit for the catcher out of Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Yeah, he delivered a critical hit against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots yesterday, so he knows how to come through in the clutch. He did it all the time with the Islanders. Matsu in need of that here.
This past season with Texas A&M CC, Vaughn hit .238, 6 home runs, 27 runs batted in out of Coweta, Oklahoma. Probably horribly butchering that place name too. Here's a bunt laid down. That'll be foul again, so Vaughn won't be able to try that again.
Yeah, he's really trying the bunt in this situation, the Drake Kerr strategy, so to speak, and gave it a good shot right there, trying to play it just in front of the plate. Couldn't quite get it to go down. Obviously, you're looking to go a little bit more towards the third baseline in that situation. Make the third baseman come up and try to make a tough play to first. We'll see if Logan Vaughn can get that here in a second.
0-2, another throw into first. Trying to get Strohmeyer. Chase Wilcox on deck. Vaughn trying to make sure there's somebody in scoring position when he gets there. And here we see some more gamesmanship. Gulko slowing it down. .02 on its way.
He's going to try it again.
Again, that's 3 straight throws to first.
Obviously, doing everything he can to see if there's a way to get Strohmeyer out. Just want to test those waters.
He knows that Strohmeyer is going to run, so he hopes that he might catch him in the act. And he doesn't go that time, and wouldn't have mattered anyway. Another foul ball.
But Logan Vaughn keeping this at-bat alive and just wearing down Frankie Gulko in this situation, who's already at an expanded pitch count. You got to imagine this is doing him no favors.
That's a good point. Every pitch he throws, and for that matter, every toss to first, puts a little bit more miles on him. Here's another 0-2. Off the end of the bat into left field, dropping down, and that's going to be a fair ball. It's going to drop down for a base hit. So a single for Logan Vaughn. It found the 2 inches.
I think, did they call it foul?
Well, Vaughn was at first. Oh, they're going to call him back?
Yeah, they called it foul. Or I think Chugiak thought they called it foul.
Well, Vaughn is staying at first. I think that was a fair ball. It looked fair to me. It looked like it dropped right in between the line and the... No, and now they're going to reverse it. Here comes Vaughn.
I was about to say.
Oh, that's...
I thought they called it foul, and they did.
Just backbreaking.
I'm going to be honest. From my vantage point, I thought it was a foul ball. It looked like it was just outside that left field line.
Oh, it looked like it landed on the line to me, but I'll defer to you. You've got a better view down the left field line than I do.
Yeah, it was just barely within that green stuff, and that is a tough one for Logan Vaughn. But, man, a heck of an effort on that bloop shot. Still can get another one right here, though.
Now we go again. Just brush it off and go again. And another throw to first.
Still trying to get Strohmeyer. I like the idea. Do everything you can, and you know Strohmeyer is going to want to go after that stolen base, so just give it a shot here for Chugiak.
Another 0-2. High in the air to right field. The second baseman, Zalaika, gets under it and makes the grab for the first out.
Yeah, so you go from a potential bloop shot to get runners on first and second now to a pop out to the second baseman, so that's a tough reversal for Matsu, but they've shown the ability to overcome that this season. Chase Wilcox, big part of that.
Chase Wilcox, Nick Bisaccia, the next 2 due up, and both of them can deliver in clutch spots. They've done it before. Wilcox, especially within the confines of Herman Brothers, has been excellent. since he joined the team. Runner goes. Wilcox spoils that one.
Again, Strohmeyer being very aggressive, trying to steal second base. Pretty big leadoff from the first base bag. That's why Gulko keeps going back. And Strohmeyer, one of the best when it comes to his speed on this team. I'd say if the opportunity presents itself, he's going to try it again, especially with one out. Going to lead to him being maybe a bit more aggressive.
The outfielders and infielders on this team, all very speedy. There he goes again, and there goes another foul ball.
So you see the last two times he's going for it, just to see if there's an opportunity there. Not hesitating one bit, and I'm sure that's a strategy that he's been told by the coaches. Hey, if you see it, go for it, especially late in the game. If we need a run, do what you have to do.
Here's another 0-2 count from Gulko. Wilcox trying to overcome it. The pitch. And another foul ball. He has started each of the last two at-bats with 3 straight fouled off offerings, and Vaughn actually fouled 4 pitches, including that borderline shot. 0-2 count, 1 on, 1 out. Miners down by 1 here at home. Gulko into left field off the bat of Wilcox, dropping down, and that's going to be a base hit. Rounding second, going for third is Strohmeyer, and he'll get there sliding in safely. Wilcox has got a single. There will be runners on the corners with 1 out.
Well, we talked about what would Frankie Gulko's limit be, and we might be seeing it right here. What a beautiful shot into left field by Chase Wilcox that time, right along the line. And yes, here is going to be Timothy Cole making his way out of the Chugiak dugout. This could be the end of the evening for Frankie Gulko.
So that will almost certainly be the end of Frankie Gulko's day. It was an excellent performance. 94 pitches, did not allow a run, only a handful of hits. But that pitch count got so high, he does have to exit the game, and we've got somebody trotting onto the field from the Chinooks dugout. We'll get that name for you as soon as we see it. With Nick Bisaccia due up, runners on the corners, any ball that leaves the infield might be enough to tie this game.
Looks like that is number 32, I believe. That's going to be Jacob Hayes.
That is what the umpire was gesturing for, and indeed it is Jacob Hayes out of Azusa Pacific, Anacortes, Washington, a 6'5" freshman. Was primarily an infielder with Azusa Pacific, but he's the number 7 ranked first baseman out of the state of Washington. But as a high schooler, he was also an excellent pitcher, had a 1.27 ERA, and was named first team all-conference in the Northwest Baseball League. He hit 5 home runs in conference play and also had a 6-1 record as a pitcher. So a great two-way threat, and he'll try and hold down this game in a tenuous situation for the Chinooks. Miners trying to get on the board.
All right, so this is the question we've been asking. Can Jacob Hayes and this Chugiak bullpen respond in this moment? We've seen how Matsu's bullpen, led by Jack Hostetler, has been great so far. Now Chugiak has to do the same, especially in this drastic of a situation. This is going to get intense.
Strohmeyer on third, Wilcox at first. Nick Bisaccia will bat next. The 226 hitter coming into today with 3 runs batted in, 7 for 31 on the season. After that, it will loop back around to the top of the order. So dire straits for Chugiak-Eagle River, a golden opportunity for Matsu. And the fans here at Herman Brothers Ballpark, along with the two of us, pulling for the ladder.
We're going to have Nick Bisaccia, like you mentioned, leading off, and then we go back to the top of the order with Drake Kerr. So some of the best hitters for Matsu, especially over the last few games, are going to be upcoming. This is going to be a heck of a test for Jacob Hayes right out of the bullpen. It's almost feet to the fire, so to speak, and he is going to have to hope that he can get out of this. And for Matsu, conversely, this is an opportunity to deliver maybe the biggest moment of the game and their chance to take control.
So Jacob Hayes has made 3 appearances this season for Chugiak, 2 2/3 innings pitched. He's allowed 3 runs. That's a 10.13 ERA, so hasn't exactly been lights out the times he's come out of the bullpen. Miners going to try and get that ERA even higher. Nick Bisaccia ready to dig in. He shows bunt, but that's way outside. Rickabaugh had to dive to stop it.
Yeah, that's not the sign you want earlier for Jacob Hayes and this Chugiak team. You got to find a way to keep the baseball in the zone and especially avoid any wild pitches. And if you're Matsu, you got a great chance to capitalize. So I'm sure Kellen Strohmeyer are going to be keeping a close eye on that.
1-0. Another bunt. And this time just in the outside corner of the zone.
So we're seeing Hayes using that breaking ball early on against Nick Bisaccia, trying to get in his rhythm right now. It's not the end of the world if the Chinooks were to give up one run, but you got to get in the zone.
Another bunt shown. Bisaccia making his intentions clear. Trying to get the Miners a run and get this game back to the tied state it has been in the entire time up until the 7th inning.
That means Chugiak is going to try to find any way possible to get a play at the plate. So Matsu's got to be aware of that, and Strohmeyer has to be careful, looking to see what this Chugiak infield defense is going to do.
With the speed of Strohmeyer, the advantage in a play on the plate would definitely go to the Miners.
Which is absolutely necessary right now. That speed, especially on the base paths, when you're down by a run, got to have it.
2-1. Into left field, hit well. It will fall right into the glove of the left fielder. Tagging is Strohmeyer. Here's the play at the plate. The catcher has it, and he throws him out. R.J. Rickabaugh pumping his fist on a beautiful throw from the left fielder for the Chinooks. That was Brady Groves throwing out Strohmeyer at the plate and ending that threat. The Miners have first and third with none out, and they can't convert a double play to end the bottom of the 7th inning. And 1-0 the score will remain. Dylan Simmons will take you the rest of the way. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska, and beautiful Herman Brothers Field it is. The top half of the 8th inning between the Matsu Miners and the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. Matsu down 1-0 and a dramatic double play by the left fielder Brady Groves in the bottom half of the 7th, denying Matsu of a run, but the Miners defense looking to respond here in the top of the 8th.
Jack Hostetler back on the mound, and he fires in a ball to Jaden Hill, I should say.
Yeah, Jaden Hill now at the plate for the count goes to 1-1.
Yeah, if there's any consolation for Hostetler, his ERA is still intact because that run needed not one but two errors to score. I'm sure that is not any consolation for Hostetler, though, in a game the Miners so desperately need.
No, Hostetler, the man out of Whitman College, is all about winning, and he's all about prime performances, which he's done time and time again this year. This ball golfed and fouled by Jaden Hill. Count's going to go to 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Miners trying to get back to 500 on the season and pick up their second consecutive win in ABL play. Jack Hostetler trying to lead that charge. And there's a strikeout. Jack Hostetler delivers for yet another K. Can I interest you on 4 in the night and 9 total Ks for Matt Chugiak in the bottom half of the 7th. Hostetler trying to deal with him quickly. Here's the pitch. And that's going to be low. If you're just joining us, it is a dramatic top of the 8th between the Miners and the Chinooks. Matsu down 1-0, trying to get their first run of the day, but first things first, They've got to take care of the Chugiak bats. This ball popped up, shallow left field. Coming across and making the catch will be Kyle McCausland. That ball hung up there forever, but McCausland says, I got it, 2 away.
Good play there by McCausland fighting the sun. Took him a while to find it, but once he did, he made the catch with no fuss.
That'll bring us to Jordan Jaffe, the first baseman for the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. And Jaffe, the man out of Thousand Oaks, California, plays for the Richmond Spiders. Had a season-high 3 hits versus St. Louis back on May 22nd for Richmond. Watches a strike go by here. He had 5 RBIs in that same game. As a freshman, he led the team with 59 RBIs and was second in hits with 54. So he has been great for a long time as the count is 0-1. And that is going to be an appeal to the first base umpire. It's called for a ball, and the count evens at 1-1.
Just a very high leverage situation for the Miners. Of course, nobody on base, but you see how quickly things can devolve from last inning. The Chinooks wind up scoring.
This one is fouled off by Jordan Jaffe, and the count goes to 1-2.
So it's imperative that Hostetler takes care of the batters he sees without allowing anybody else on base.
Playing with a little extra intensity here in the top half of the 8th inning. Here's the fastball. It is in the dirt. That's going to be ball number 2.
And the other part of that, Dylan, is the quicker innings you throw, the less rest the opposing pitcher gets. And when the Miners are trying to wear somebody down, just get a lot of runners in scoring position, eventually they'll get a timely hit.
This is a ground ball right to Chase Wilcox. Throw to first. It bounces, and it's bobbled by Christian Perez, and safe at first base is going to be Jaffe. Another mistake by the Matsu Miners infield. I believe that's going to be their 3rd error here in the last 2 innings.
Yes, it will. There's one on Patrizzi, one on Wilcox, and now one on Perez. The throw came in, but he wasn't able to get it in his glove, so a 2-out erroneous base runner ahead of Cade Smith. Hostetler hoping this won't be deja vu.
Boy, that's yet another situation where that throw from third to first has been tough to complete between Christian Perez and Chase Wilcox. First it was Wilcox who made a throwing error, and now it's Christian Perez who can't get the ball off of the ground. The 3rd error by Matsu in the last 2 frames defensively. There's a strike by Jack Hostetler trying to mitigate it as Cade Smith is now at the plate. Count goes to 0-1. Matsu has had these issues throughout the season. They're cropping up at a bad time, but there's still an opportunity to overcome it. Jack Hostetler doing what he can. The count goes to 1-1 on Smith, who is working as the designated hitter for the Chinooks tonight.
Just like I said before, these things can spiral so much. Hostetler knows that, and he's got to dig in here.
And the count goes to 1-2. Jack Hostetler still dealing as he usually does. Hostetler, a junior out of Whitman College, so he's one of the older players, and he's a guy that can help calm down some of his opposing players as well. As here's a shot into right field for a base hit. Runners on first and second for the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks, as Jack Hostetler and the Matsu defense have suddenly given the Chinooks life.
First hit, I believe, allowed by Hostetler, and that'll bring up David Broughton, the 3rd baseman tonight, with all of a sudden 2 2-out base runners aboard for the Chinooks. Hostetler needs to close this out.
Broughton now at the plate, and the Chinooks trying to extend their lead, a runner in scoring position. Fastball, strike by Hostetler. Count goes to 0-1 for Broughton, who has struck out swinging in this game and also grounded out twice. Actually popped out to the 3rd baseman, Chase Wilcox, in his second at-bat. 0-1 count. This is going to be golfed down to the 3rd base line. Wilcox picks it up and throws to first. This time they secure the 3rd out. Redemption for Chase Wilcox and Christian Perez, a 5-3. And the score is still 1-2-0. We'll be back for the bottom of the 8th. The Matsu offense trying to respond. We'll be right back to Palmer. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call, and Chase Wilcox about to be at the plate for your Matsu Miners. Down 1-0 to the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks, trying to tie this game up or potentially take the lead. But they have got a bit of a ways to go against Jacob Hayes.
Drake Kerr, of course, the man you want leading off any inning in which you need to rally. And that is exactly where the Miners are. They've got 6 outs left. They need to score at least 1 run.
Fourth at-bat of the day for Kerr. Here's a breaking ball to the inside for ball number 1 from Hayes. He was helped by a double play by Chugiak in the bottom half of the 7th. Brady Groves getting it to R.J. Rickabaugh, able to take out Kellen Strohmeyer, who was trying to score from third. This one is right into the middle of the center field area, and Drake Kerr with a dramatic leadoff single. That one screamed past Hayes, and Matsu has a runner aboard.
Drake Kerr doing what Drake Kerr does. Same old story. He's got his second hit today and starting a rally.
Hayes was quick to look on at that thing, and now we're going to see a visit to the mound already by Timothy Cole.
And he's coming out of the game. There's someone coming from the Chinooks bullpen. So the Jacob Hayes experiment, a short-lived one.
Yeah, it didn't take long to see a new pitcher come up for Chugiak. Hayes giving up that single to Kerr, and Cole pulling the plug. Now we'll see who makes their way out to the mound. Chugiak trying to preserve the 1-0 lead. The Chinooks looking for their first win of the year over the Matsu Miners here on the road. And you see Cole conversing with his new pitcher. Again, we talked about the strength of the Chugiak bullpen and could it hold up against the Matsu hitters who have been known to come alive late. That is the question that we are still in the midst of answering as we speak. As you see the catcher, Rickabaugh, having a conversation, trying to make sure that everything is ready to go.
Just a reminder to everybody out there, we're hoping to have a post-game interview after this game. Last time we were at home, that didn't end up happening, but we're hoping to get that sorted here today. So stay tuned after the final pitch is thrown for that one.
Looks like that is going to be Alvati Gavin, number 31, who is going to make his way out to the mound. Alvetti Gavin.
That's Gavin Alvetti.
Or Gavin Alvetti, my apologies.
Central Arkansas, a right-handed 6-foot-tall pitcher, had an 8.91 ERA in 34 1/3 innings pitched with Central Arkansas. Had a season-high 5 innings pitched against Jacksonville and struck out 6 against LSU. So experienced against a very high level of competition. So far this season, Alvetti has appeared 3 times, 5 2/3 innings pitched, and he has a 3.18 ERA, 2 earned runs across those innings.
This is the first time he's seen the Miners this season, and he's got a big test in front of him. Some of the best hitters on the Matsu roster are very eager for an opportunity. Blake Baltz, Kyle McCausland, both hungry for a chance to get on base to tie this game up for Matsu. Christian Perez, not far behind, who himself has had a 2-hit day already. Blake Baltz had a unassisted ground out to first his last time out. He has had 3 consecutive full counts forced, but has not been able to cash in yet. He's also been struck out twice.
But he was instrumental in the Miners' pursuit of racking up the pitches against Frankie Gulko. Didn't end up getting any runs against him, but still were able to force him out of the game. And this bullpen, I should say, for the Chinooks, much not as proven. This righty sidearmer going to face off against the designated hitter here.
Yeah, as you just said, a sidearm motion for the pitcher Galvin Alvetti. And now we'll see what he can do against Blake Baltz, the designated hitter, looking for his first hit of this game and trying to send Drake Kerr potentially all the way to home plate.
That's what the Miners need, and bring this sellout crowd, I assume, to its feet.
This is fouled off the end of the bat by Baltz. The count goes to 0-1. Baltz has emerged as a key piece for this Matsu roster ever since his arrival just over a week ago, and has been great since his first game against the Oilers. 0-1 count. Here's the throw to first, and they're unable to get Kerr, who is a little bit slow getting up. Just trying to get his bearings back. no issues, but he's got a lot of dirt on that uniform.
I imagine Drake Kerr is one of those guys where if you owned a game without a uniform covered in dirt, you failed.
There was a bunch shown by Baltz that got by him, and it looks like that's going to be called for strike 2. Count goes to 0-2.
Baltz trying to advance the runner, and Kerr would immediately get down to second on any successful bunt. At this point in the game, though, it's worth wondering whether it's worth it to trade outs for base runners. It might behoove the Miners to just take what they can get and roll the dice with Baltz against a new pitcher.
Yeah, this is the strategy they're going with in this moment with Blake Baltz. 214 average on the season entering today. 6 total hits for the Miners. Can he get number 7 right here? Not yet, because they're going to throw back to first, and Kerr once again makes it safely. We saw this as well in the bottom half of the 7th as they tried to dispatch of Strohmeyer, who was on base for Matsu. They could not succeed then, and they are not succeeding yet here either.
Chinooks determined to foil the pursuit of the fastest game this season.
And that's a swing and a miss by Blake Baltz. He has struck out now 3 times today against Chugiak-Eagle. He strikes out swinging this time on a low pitch. That's Alvetti's first strikeout of the game.
So Kyle McCausland will dig in now with one away.
McCausland to the plate, the best extra base hitter on this Matsu roster. 4 doubles on the season, 8 total hits. Kerr again getting back to first as they're trying to work on him. Jaffe out there, Alvetti going back.
If he could get a double here, Kerr would be a shoo-in to reach home. The
sidearm pitch, and that's a ball.
Arms in this outfield are extremely talented, as we've seen, but Kerr can outrun them.
1-0 count. McCausland trying to spoil the Chinooks party. That pitch is low, but in, and the count goes to 1-1. Alvetti with that unique sidearm motion. Always interesting to see how the hitters negotiate.
Followed by charge.
Trying to get the crowd hyped up. This one gets away from Rickabaugh, and on to second is Drake Kerr on the passed ball. Matsu now with a runner in scoring position once again, and this Miners crowd is getting fired up. Eager to see the Miners strike gold. Kyle McCausland with a 2-1 count. He's got Kerr at second. The pitcher out of Searcy, Arkansas, Galvin Alvetti, trying to prevent that. Swing and a miss by McCausland, and the count goes to 2-2.
We're the runner in scoring position now. How many times have we said that in this game and across the last few games for the Miners? It's been hard for them to convert, but McCausland, with the power he has in his bat, of course a Middlebury College legend.
Low pitch, ball 3.
If he can get a hold of one here, especially now with Kerr in scoring position, he is as good as home.
He had a single in his last at-bat, and now trying to respond here against Alvetti. A massive payoff pitch in the bottom of the 8th. 1 out, runner on second. And Alvetti's going to take a moment.
That was good there by Drake Kerr. Little twitch as if he might go, and that psyched out Alvetti enough to force him to step off and recollect himself.
We know that's not a tease. That's a threat from Drake Kerr. He can absolutely go. This is going to be sent and caught by the second baseman, Zalaika, for out 2.
You talk about unlucky. Anywhere else except for right at the second baseman, that would have been a base hit. And considering how softly hit that was, it would have rolled pretty slowly onto the outfield grass, and it could have potentially scored Kerr, but instead, just unlucky. Zalaika was in the right place at the right time, and McCausland goes down. Perez is going to have to make something happen here with 2 away.
And now we're going to see a quick meeting from half of the Chinooks defense here. Going to have a quick conversation about how to approach the rest of this frame with Christian Perez coming on. And this is crucial because Perez has 2 consecutive singles. He could absolutely score Drake Kerr from second base if he got a shot into the gap. But you talked about unlucky, and that was absolutely unlucky. That was a black cat moment for Kyle McCausland. That one lined right to Zalaika. It should have been anywhere else, but it went right there.
The one plus side of having 2 outs in a position like this is if Christian Perez does get a hit, Kerr is going to be running on contact, which clinches that he will make it home, almost certainly, barring some kind of disaster if he were to trip or something. If that ball does drop down into fair territory, Christian Perez is going to be intentionally walked here, it looks like.
Okay, so they're going to intentionally walk Christian Perez. That was what the meeting was about. So Perez on to first. Obviously not wanting to risk what we've seen over the last 2 at-bats for him.
That's a smart move by the Chinooks. And Don Patrizzi, of course, not exactly a hitter to be trifled with in his own right. He can absolutely get a hold of one here, but over the course of this game, doesn't have a hit yet, has reached on a strikeout. But it appears that the Chinooks and Alvetti would rather face off against him than Perez.
Don Patrizzi, remember, does have the lone home run for Matsu this year. He knows how to send one deep, and that would be a game-changing moment if it took place right here. 2 outs. Here's the pitch. It's well outside for ball 1. Good work by Rickabaugh to collect it. Count is going to be 1 ball and no strikes.
That would have gotten 2 runners into scoring position. Patrizzi got a hit off of that situation. It might have scored both.
Hang on to your seats, folks, wherever you're watching from. This game is picking up in the intensity and the fervor. 1-0 count. Here's the pitch. Patrizzi sends one right to the pitcher, a comebacker, and that is going to be out number 3. So Alvetti delivers, and Matsu comes up empty. They put 2 runners on base, but that's it. And the score still 1-0, Chinooks on top. We'll be right back for the top of the 9th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball, and it's here on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. It's the top of the 9th between the Miners and the Chinooks. And yes, the score is 1-0. Chugiak on top. Leading off will be R.J. Rickabaugh, who played a key role in keeping the lead at 1-0. Made a couple of clutch plays as the backstop to make sure that Matsu could not score a run in the bottom half of the 8th. Jack Hostetler still on the mound, and he fires in a strike. The count goes to 0-1.
Hostetler looking for one more clean frame here to give the bottom half of the Miners' order a chance to tie it or walk this thing off in the 9th. They've had chances, and that's in large part due to how great the pitching has been. The 1 run they've allowed has not been earned.
R.J. Rickabaugh trying to help Chugiak to their first win of the year against Matsu. They got destroyed on their home field as that goes in for a strike. 1-2. 9-1 by the Miners in the season opener 20 days ago, back on June the 6th.
And in all fairness, they have thus far...
Strikeout by Jack Hostetler. Sorry to interrupt you, partner. Jack Hostetler wasting no time getting the strikeout. That is 1 down in the top of the 9th. He comes up clutch once again.
No worries, my friend. I was just going to say that the Chinooks have scored exactly as many runs in this game as they did in that 9-1 loss. The first time, it just felt like a consolation prize that they didn't get shut out. Now here, that could be the winning margin.
Now Jack Hostetler with 5 strikeouts in this game as the count goes to 0-1 here on Orion Medeiros. Matsu's pitching has just been stupendous over these last few games. Hostetler and Detay both with 5 Ks here in this evening. As that pitch goes high, the count goes to 1-1. They've reached double-digit Ks once again. They were able to do that yesterday against the Glacier Pilots, I believe in both games. And now doing it once again here. But the biggest thing is they've got to answer on the offensive side in the bottom of the ninth and hope that the score is still 1-0.
They have 6 hits in this game to the Chinooks 7, but those 3 errors, the difference in the game for Matsu. Their infield defense had been so great and took a bit of a step back here today. The Bats with one more chance after this inning ends to render that moot.
Yeah, it was that collection of errors in the top of the 7th, 2 in a row, that cost the Miners a run. That is a check swing, and it's outside. Didn't go around, and that's a 3-2 count. So Medeiros has forced a payoff pitch, and Jack Hostetler, who has been captain clutch as of late, is going to have to come through again. And he does! Strikeout swinging on Medeiros, and Jack Hostetler has once again answered the call.
Shortstop number 9, Oliver.
Is that 5 Ks for him?
That is 6 strikeouts now and 11 total for Matsu in this game. He's 1 away from tying the season high for a Matsu Miners pitcher.
And it only makes sense that he would be part of that tie. It's been Timmerman, it's been Hattenbach, and it's been Hostetler. It's a great year for 3-syllable last names here on the pitching staff of the Matsu Miners. And Hostetler has got DeGenhard to try and equal those 2 Miners' arms.
A bunt is shown, and you saw Degenhardt already taking off. Count goes to 0-1, just in case that he made contact with that baseball. Trying to see if Matsu, who has struggled sometimes with bunts this season, if they would mess this one up. A breaking ball and a beauty by Hostetler. Count goes to 0-2.
That was pretty. That just nicked the back corner of the zone on the arcing curveball. He has such a great mix of pitches to flummox these hitters.
Can he do it again? It's high for ball 1. Hostetler looking for the 7th strikeout of the game and hopefully the last for Matsu, as they are looking to win with a walk-off in the bottom of the 9th. This is going to be a bouncing ball right to the shortstop. Patrizi throws on to first, and that is going to be out number 3. A 6-3 put out for Matsu, and you never worry about calling on Jack Hostetler because he always answers, as he just did in that frame. We've got one more potential half inning of action if Matsu can walk it off here in the upcoming bit. We'll find out. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball here on YouTube. Don't go anywhere, folks. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska, where things are getting dramatic. It's the Miners and the Chinooks. It's the bottom of the 9th. And it is win or go home time for Matsu, and or bringing the game to extra innings. This one is a comebacker right to Alvetti. Underhand toss to first, and that's out number 1. Kellen Strohmeyer stepping up to the plate.
An inauspicious start for the Miners, but still a chance here. All they need is 1 to keep this game going. Gavin Alvetti has been exceptional, but this bottom of the Miners lineup, full of threats to potentially get on base. Logan Vaughn is definitely due.
Chinooks are now 2 outs away from clinching the victory. Logan Vaughn is due for a hit right here. He lets this go by. It's low, and it's ball number 1. And you wonder just how dramatic and just how aggressive will Matsu be from the plate here in this bottom of the 9th. Got to do anything you can to get a run at this point. And that's a strike. Count goes to 1-1. The sidearm strike by Galvin Alvetti, who stepped up in the bottom half of the 8th. And Mr. Alvetti is trying to keep it going right here. Here's the pitch, and it is outside for ball 2.
The Miners are out hitting Chugiak-Eagle River 6-4 in this game, but the Chinooks with that run, courtesy of a duo of errors back in the 6th inning.
Pitch by Alvetti. This is a bouncing ball right to the shortstop. Picked up. Degenhart throws to first, and that's out 2. A 6-3 put out for the Chinooks, and that is 2 away here in the bottom of the 9th. And Chugiak is 1 out away from clinching their first win of the year over the Matsu Miners.
It's up to Chase Wilcox with Nick Bisaccia on deck.
Wilcox going to come on, and Matsu just hasn't been able to find anything late. And this back half of the order has really struggled tonight, but Wilcox was able to reach first his last time out, and they would need that from him again right here.
Wilcox hit 4 home runs with Central Missouri this past year. What a time it would be for his first one up here in Alaska.
As that is fouled by Wilcox. It bounced out of the batter's box. Count goes to 0-1 for the third baseman. He did commit one of those errors earlier on in the game that led to Chugiak scoring. And right now, that is the difference in this contest. But Wilcox has an opportunity for ultimate redemption right here, with an opportunity to get on base. This is going to be a ground ball right to the second baseman. Throw to first is going to be in time, and that does it. The Chugiak-ER Chinooks come into Palmer and take down the Matsu Miners with a defensive and pitching masterclass. A 1-0 shutout victory, the first time that Matsu has been shut out at home this season. And Chugiak will move to 5-7 on the year. Matsu drops to 6-8, and that was one heck of a ball game.
It's tough to lose a game in more frustrating fashion for that if you're Matsu. Your pitchers did everything you could have possibly asked of them. They did not allow an earned run, allowed just 4 hits, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. The Miners got hits, they had chances, they had base runners, but they could not drive any of them home. They've got a much-needed off day tomorrow, and we're going to hope to get back in the saddle come Friday.
So a tough loss for the Matsu Miners, but there is always tomorrow and there is always the next game, and the next game will be this Friday against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots right back here at Herman Brothers Field. We'll see if Matsu can get the job done and get a win back at home. For now, we are going to send it to commercial break. When we come back, we will have a member of the Matsu Miners on to interview and share their thoughts about today's contest. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back from Palmer. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. right, welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. The Matsu Miners falling by a score of 1-0 to the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. We are joined by head coach Ty LeBrun. Coach, obviously a tough loss this evening. Matsu doing what they could late, but just unable to pull it out at the end.
Yeah, frustrating.
Yeah, obviously tough down the stretch and things just not going right at the end. Obviously the offense not quite able to get over the hump tonight. What is going to be the key to putting that into forward motion in the future?
We got to execute. We had plenty of chances tonight to execute, and we didn't accomplish that. And, when you're not swinging it well, you got to do the small things right, and we really failed tonight in that regard. So, yeah, we just got to get back to executing the right way.
One positive, the pitching was great tonight from Ben Detay and Jack Hostetler. Their performance able to limit the Chugiak offense and keep you guys in it. What can you say about their performance and how good the pitching has gotten from Matsu over the last few games?
It's been tremendous. I tip my cap to that staff, and Steve Hecker does a great job with them. I think that duo has thrown 18 innings and given up 3 runs in their last 2 outings, and they're 0-2. We have to be better as an offense. That's it. Simple as that. We got to be better.
All right, Coach, obviously a day off tomorrow, and then you play the Anchorage Glacier Pilots on Friday. Team you got a win over yesterday, so opportunity is certainly there for Matsu. What's it going to take in your mind? You mentioned execution, but what is going to be the main thing that Matsu has to do to get the win on Friday and get back a victory?
Got to hit, man. We got to hit. We're going to take the whole day off tomorrow, get away from the ball field, kind of clear our heads, come out, and hopefully we just got to hit. Again, we know our pitching staff's going to put us in a good position to be in a ball game late. If we swing the bats like we're capable of and execute when we have to and need to, we'll be there in the end.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you on Friday.
Thanks.
Head coach Ty LeBrun coming in. The Miners falling 1-0 to the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks, but better days are hopefully around in the future as they'll take on the Anchorage Glacier Pilots on Friday for their next home game here this season. But as for tonight, that is going to do it. So for Charlie Fellows, for our entire incredible staff here at the Matsu Miners, and for all of you watching at home, I am Dylan Simmons saying so long. We'll see you next time.